All right, and a one and a two. And hello and welcome to episode 39 of Nerds and Words. We have a very exciting special episode today as we are joined by a very special guest. But first, the usual crew, as always, joined by Potion Shop TV.
Hello, it is I.
And Marlin TV.
Hello.
I'll be your host, Valen1337, and our very special guest today is Big and Shiny. Say hello, Big and Shiny.
I think he's muted. Oh, there we go.
We're going to go over the patch notes like we normally do, and then some deep scientific theory and quantum physics and shapes and stuff like that too, probably. But first, start off with a little icebreaker and ask Potion Shop what the hell he's been up to this week, because I'm pretty sure you said that you're going to stream this week, and I don't think I saw you streaming.
I streamed 2 days.
Did you?
Yeah, it was amazing time. I actually did stream 2 days. I'm not lying about that. I intended to stream Wednesday, Thursday, but I did not do that. So I don't know. It's a progression thing. I kind of figured out what my problem was, thinking through it logically. I basically have 4 irons in the fire right now. I do everything in the same setup. So when I play games for fun, I'm in the same seat. When I'm working on music, I'm in the same seat. When I'm working on streaming, I'm in the same seat. And so I really need to allot my time out where when I sit in a seat, I'm doing a particular task and I'm focused on that task. Because what I'll do is I'll sit down and I'll work on music, and then 6 hours goes by and I'm too late to start my stream. And so then I'm like, well, what do I do? Start the stream, like 2-3 hours late? And so I'm basically going to fix that by having more dedicated time slots. And if I run out of time, then just cutting it off and saying, okay, I got to start the stream. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a dedicated off day on Sunday, always off day on Sunday. And it's going to be my free day to play games that I want to play. And then Friday is going to be my day for music, and obviously the podcast. And then the rest of the week will be, I have a couple hours when I wake up, like probably about 2 hours for music stuff if I have anything immediate that I have to do. And the rest of the time will be for streaming. And so I'm going to see if that kind of schedule works for me, because that's the core of my problem is not scheduling my time out in like blocks properly, I think. Anyway, that's what's up with me. I do want to be more, consistent with my stream. That's probably the biggest thing for me. I found out that I had this problem on my third album where I need an extra song at the last minute. And so I took a song from my fourth album and added it to my third album. And so then I went through my songs this time. I had 1 through 20. And I went 1, and the 2 is not there because I took that song and added to the third album. And so it goes 1, skips 2, goes 3, 4, 5. And so the album technically has 19 songs, and the album art's done. And I'm waiting on one more song because I thought I had enough, but I can't count to 20 properly. So, Anyway, that's my week right now. And I'm doing pretty good, though. I'm in a good mental state, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, it seems brighter in your room.
Oh, yeah?
Definitely.
Must be the sun outside might be shining a little brighter than normal.
Wait, it's daytime where you're at?
I think so. I had to require me looking outside. I'm not sure.
20 songs for an album is quite a lot.
Yeah,
why do you aim for 20?
I'm aiming for 20 because it's about an hour of music. So then every time an album comes out,
for short tracks.
Yeah, every time an album comes out, it's an hour of music. So I did 2 albums last year. I'm trying to do 6 albums this year, and then I'll be 8 hours of music that will be good for streaming.
Can one of your next albums, be like a really heavy saxophone synthwave thing? So Marlin will actually play it. He's got like a whole emote when there's saxophone being played on his synthwave.
Everyone has saxophone emotes. What do you mean? You don't have saxophone emotes?
The saxophone has never been highlighted, it's never really been highlighted on my stream.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking to diversify a little bit. I want to keep the same genre, but pick our elements to influence it. So one of the songs that's coming up is going to have a violin in it. And that's kind of like a new flavor for what we've been doing so far, but still the same genre. So Yeah, you
like
never
a
know.
yellow card.
We might be able to fit it in a saxophone somehow. I want to put in some music from like Minecraft, like take some Minecraft inspiration, because I feel like that's like a crazy good music to listen to as background music when playing video games. So I want to take some inspiration from that in one of the next albums coming up.
Super chill.
Yep. Anyway, that's it for me. What about you guys?
What's up, Marlon?
I've been playing lots of HOTS.
Oh, you too, huh?
Yeah, dude, I've been getting back into it. I think it's just like the go-to game when I'm kind of in between other games. I wanted to play Mortal 2 this week, but I didn't want to battle with the queue for hours, so I kind of haven't gotten into that. Apparently, they extended it, so I might still try it out. We'll see. But yeah, other than that, still gambling distos in BDO. Doing great. Made another one yesterday or the day before, and then a lot of Darkest Dungeon too. The more I play Darkest Dungeon, the more I like it. I'm getting excited to kind of pierce into the end game of that and see how painful that's going to be. I had a ridiculous encounter with one of the bosses that we clipped, where like I basically, I don't even know how to describe it. I was like inches away from killing this boss that had been tormenting me for the whole game, and yeah, it was excruciating.
I've only picked it up like maybe once since last week. I've been playing way more HOTS too. That's funny. Those boss battles are freaking tough, man.
Yeah, this one in particular has been. It's one of the DLC bosses that's like super overtuned. Like I don't think you're supposed to play that game with the Crimson Court DLC on your first playthrough, but I turned it on and now it's been beating my ass the whole time.
That game has so much depth to it. I think that's what draws me to it. Is a lot of games I feel like I play them, and then within playing them maybe 40 hours, I kind of know almost everything there is to know about it, and there's hardly any new surprises. And I feel like with Darkest Dungeon, there's always like something new to learn or unravel or figure out or something.
Yeah, I'm definitely still getting surprised.
How have you been enjoying Node Wars with Null?
Super fun. It got a little weird this week. I don't know what's going on with like there's some T1 drama that's kind of unusual. Usually the T1 scene's fairly wholesome, and it got kind of weird this week. So we'll see if that continues to devolve. But yeah, the actual fights, when we've been having good fights, we did like a 2v2 v3 on Wednesday that was super fun. You were there for that one. Even though we lost, that was like a good hour-long battle. Ended up going like 45-7 or something on Suck Warrior. So
that was Wednesday, right? That's when it was D Mike and I calling.
Yeah. Impact wasn't even there. That was a good fight.
That was a good fight. I agree. Yeah, so that kind of dovetails into last week. Was it last week Friday? It had to have been. I went on the T1 podcast, and I called one of the guilds that was talking shit to us a fart in the wind.
Oh, that I go over well?
Well, it seemed fine, but it really upset them a lot. A lot. The amount of personal attacks I've seen in general chat since then has been pretty outstanding. So
yeah, I'm learning a lot about Tim's real life and personal problems from the other T1 guilds.
Most of it's inaccurate and from 3 years ago, but nonetheless, it's a valiant effort. So I think this week on the podcast, I'm gonna call him words like doo-doo, maybe doo-doo head. I think we're gonna call him doo-doo heads. I can't de-escalate anything. So if fart gets them that mad, I think we're gonna see what doo-doo head does this week. So I've been really enjoying T1s too. I did some 1v1 with Moreland last week, and I realized I had no idea how to 1v1 in my class. And so,
I taught you how to play Guardian.
Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of 1v1 since then, and I probably went 50-50 against Jester Akota the other night. He showed up and just hung out at like a null thing. It was before he had a big GVG, And so there's a bunch of clips on my channel of me killing Jester and him getting berated because of it, which is pretty funny. So I've been having a lot of fun just getting back into PvP, a lot of RBF, a lot of 1v1s, going to like the tryouts and stuff, and fighting different classes. I really haven't been doing any grinding. I gambled all my money away a couple streams ago. Got another pen neck attempt for 365 mil, and of course it didn't go. So I bought a Tep Bassi belt, and of course that didn't go. I haven't really even been playing too much Star Wars Galaxies. I've just been playing a lot of HOTS and BDO PvP. So I had a pretty good week, man.
Well,
I'm gonna get out of town this weekend for a little bit and have some fun. So I'm looking forward to that too.
one thing I wanted to ask is, like, do you think that the toxicity kind of brewing up in tier 1s is like a sign of it actually being fun?
No, it's just me. I just went in there, like, it was all nice and peaceful, and I started calling people out for like talking shit and stuff. And I kind of put a mirror up to them. And so there was already some toxic personalities in there, but once you kind of stoke the fire, they really come out. So I hate to take credit for it, but it did have a lot to do with me.
You want rivalry in these wars, like you want some amount of trash talk and rivalry, but you don't actually want like toxicity. You don't want like actual racism or like actual people talking about like real life. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a pretty clear line that everyone should know not to cross, and like to keep it like competitive but fun. But yeah, I mean, in this game, there's always going to be people who look to cross it. The T1 scene was mostly clean of that, and I think it still is. Like 90% of the T1 guilds are definitely still like they have good sportsmanship. But there's a couple guilds that didn't exist last time I was in the T1 scene that are definitely bringing like some of the siege level toxicity into T1s.
But I've been patrolling a couple of channels too, where I know some war targets hang out, and it seems that we've scared them off. But that doesn't stop me from roaming around the map looking for PvP. So I've been having a lot of fun outside of the obvious toxic targets. But like I said, we're gonna escalate it. So we'll see how many more personal attacks come my way after I call him. Discount Sasha doo-doo head.
Well, I think that's anyway. I think what's happy for me is that there's still like a part of the PvP community surviving, because it seemed like to me for a while like it kind of just went away. But maybe that was just my own like ignorance of not participating as much, right? So I'm happy to hear that.
I would love to see the stats of how many guilds are dropping in each tier of war and see like where the action really is.
Yeah, I mean, it could just all be perception, right? Because I don't think any of us are doing higher tier node wars. So it could be that there's a thriving tier 2 or tier 3 scene that we're just unaware of, right?
Could be. It is kind of the same names every week on Castles still, though, after all these years.
True.
No, the T2 scene sucks, man. It's like a bunch of siege guilds dropping down, or people dodging each other in fights and stuff. It's not fun. Big and Shiny, what have you been up to, man?
Hello. I've been grinding and nothing else. How about you?
Where have you been grinding?
Are you still in Histria?
I went temporarily to the Hadum spot as I had to get all of the HP things for my many rings. However, I will probably return to Histria soon, but not yet. I don't feel like it yet. I like the new spot because it's enjoyable.
Are you going HP on all your accessories? Or are you taking any of the crit damage? Interesting. Why'd you choose to go HP?
So I chose HP because in terms of the total benefit, offensive versus defensive, I gain a larger percentage of overall defense on top of what I already have, and I gain offense on top of what I already have. The crit damage, so like if your base crit multiplier is 2.0 and then you have a bunch of stuff added on top of that, so let's say 6% would be I don't know, 240 something over 240 something minus 6 or 230 something per instance of a critical hit, that's only going to be around 2.5% more damage, whereas 250 health as a percentage of your whole HP pool plus a little bit is significantly more than that. And that's assuming 100% rate of crit, which isn't feasible, especially in PvP scenarios.
That makes sense. Because your HP is not, it scales, doesn't scale linearly because it scales also with your evasion and or DR.
Well, it does very much scale linearly. In fact, you could argue that, well, I mean, crit damage and HP both have diminishing returns inherent to things that scale linearly. But how to say this? Yeah, the fact that it makes your DR and evasion, it doesn't make those things more effective. It is still like, let's say if I have 1,000 health versus 1,500. That is still a 50% increase to my health. However, it's going to be a little bit less because my effective health will be a bit higher due to the very high likelihood of me getting at least one potion off before I die. But yeah, it is nice and gigantic when I get HP.
Yeah, I chose bad words there, but yeah, I agree.
Are you PvPing a lot, or is this mostly for PvE that you're gearing towards?
Well, let's see. I only PvP as Fat Wizard to remove CGs from my spot, usually. People are very belligerent at the new spot. And it's a pretty interesting interaction. Yeah. It's really, really interesting, actually. But yeah, it's enjoyable. Because Fat Wizard has 526 DP now.
So you swap over just to mess with people when they try to take your spot? How does that go? How long does it usually take before they give up?
Oh, wow. I'd say it really varies. I'd say the average is somewhere between okay. Sometimes the really long ones stay for between 2 and 4 hours. I don't get many of those though, and it's usually like an ego thing for them. But most people leave after like 15 to 45 minutes.
Wow. Which spot are you mostly doing this at? Is this at Red Orcs?
Yes. Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's crazy. Red Orcs is like its own special monster. I've had a little bit of issues at the other spots, but it's honestly not been that bad at like Monastery or even Castle Ruins. Red Orcs though, it's holy shit. It's just like,
no, it's so fun, isn't it?
Yeah, that place is wild right now, especially since the HP nerfs to it.
Yes, I didn't know why they did that.
Yeah, I don't know why either. Yeah, for me, I'm going for the crit damage because I feel like even if it's only an extra 2% DPS increase, I might actually notice that, especially while grinding. Whereas even if I'm getting like a 5%, HP, I don't know exactly what it is, but if I'm getting some amount of HP increase, I just don't know. I don't feel like I need it in PvE, and I don't feel like it's actually going to keep me alive in PvP. I don't feel like it's enough to make the difference. But maybe if I had better DP, I would feel differently about it.
I'm just kind of thinking about what kind of grind spots in the future I want to be grinding at. Like Cryptodestin Thoughts and Ash Forest are both really scary spots to go to, and I'm really like win itemized for those. And I think for me, the HP would be almost more beneficial. I don't know. I mean,
can you actually survive a hit at Crypt even with like Omega HP?
Yeah, you can go there and grind. It's possible.
Yeah, I know you can grind there, but I thought you were supposed to just avoid everything. Like if you take one of those hits, does extra HP actually save you?
Yeah, I mean, I went there and grinded on Global Lab on a Zerker, and you can take a few hits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
when are you going to eat your Wheaties and go to a Doom potion? It's been out for like over a month, dude.
When this, I guess Ninja gets 62. Whatever that happens. I'm grinding on him right now. He's currently at 29%.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Yeah, when that happens, I guess I'll take Sage there. Like, it kind of brings us well into the next topic. The Sage got some buffs this week. Or
yeah, they can like take their weapon out and put it away, and
Yeah, they can sprint more smoothly than they did before. It's crazy.
is it weird to anybody else what a large character model? I didn't realize this until like I was 1v1ing a Sage. Just like what a large character model it is.
I have not noticed that.
It's like what's that, the evil Jedi from the last Star Wars where he takes his shirt off and he's like super wide man. Like he's really big. He's a big dude.
Yeah, I don't know if he's tall though. Is he a tall character? I think he's just a very strong character, right?
He's bigger than my Guardian, which makes me feel a little inadequate.
Yikes.
I know.
Shiny, do you ever play the new class when it comes out? Do you ever check it out or study it at all, or are you mainly just sticking to Wizard?
Well, Sage is the first new class that I actually played a little bit of because it seemed very wizardy. And while I enjoy it very much, I don't enjoy it as much as Wizard, of course, but I do enjoy it very much, I'd say. I like it.
Do you have any thoughts about where it stands currently? Do you think it needs buffs or adjustments? Did you play it enough to get a feel for it in that regard?
I played it enough to get a good feel for it. However, because the interactions between both the interactions between classes being very complicated, and the fact that if someone only plays a class, even if they play it all day just for a few weeks, the level of mastery they attain with it is not going to be very high compared to with their main class, and all of the like fine tuning of things and all of the just figuring out new things will benefit you quite a bit in the long run. So for me, it's way too early to really have much of an opinion on a class unless it's like really crazy in one way or the other, good or bad. I do not have any opinion other than I like it.
How long do you think it takes the player base to figure out where a class is in the meta? Whether
I don't think the player base ever figures out where a class is in the
True.
I so sincerely agree with this. I kind of gave up saying it, and it doesn't really make good content for every time a new class comes out for me to kind of be petulant and go, well, there's no way we could possibly know. Like you guys are talking out of your ass. So like giving initial reactions and stuff, and the clunkiness, and especially now that we're getting like alpha versions of this class, I remember when like Mystic came out and DK and all these older classes, and nobody had any idea what to do with it, Lawn, etc. And the first week they were incredibly overpowered. Then like one patch came out because everybody was only using 3 moves and it gutted one thing. And they're like, well, we can never touch Lawn again or DK. And then you just never saw one for like months because the right person made the right Reddit post that enough people upvoted. So I sincerely agree with that. I think the pace of which they put out classes creates an insane amount of chaos within the meta, if there even is one. And it's just kind of like this weird haphazard, everybody just spams button and does damages. And, you get a couple of long-standing guys who really stick to their class, that can 1v1 and stuff. But, I really like that opinion because I share it.
I've learned so much about classes. Like, I feel like before the tier list, I was kind of going off everybody else's opinion on it, and like after playing Ninja, like it was so easy. Like within like I don't think I'm that good at him, but just playing him for like a day or two, I was able to know that he wasn't an A+ tier class of PvE. He does really good damage at low end spots, but the high end spots he just kind of falls off. And I thought that was really interesting, and it just kind of shows that everybody in the player base thinks that Ninja Succession is like a super top tier grinder, and I think that's I think it just shows how much we have to learn on it all.
PvE, I feel like, is a little bit easier because you can literally measure your effectiveness. But yeah, PvP meta is always, I think, largely the consequence of a few people who are actually trying things and the other 99% of the player base just copying what the small number of creative people are trying.
Well, hold on. You said that you're not even 62 on your Ninja, right?
Yeah, I'm 61 right now.
Okay, I'm just prefacing that a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, my tier list, and I just based that off people's opinions, and like the current opinion on Ninja Succession is that it is one of the strongest PvE classes in the game.
What?
That's surprising to me. I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's not like a witch or a wizard succession or a striker or anything like that, but it's a very strong class.
Okay.
So anyway, I had to adjust my opinion because I had it rated as like one of the strongest in the game, but I think it's kind of more middle of the pack. That's just my opinion on it.
Well, what do we think about the actual Sage buffs? I personally thought they were very, very underwhelming. There was a couple that I thought were extremely good. The fact that you can actually iframe down a cliff is like literally life changing. I pretty much had like a spiritual experience being able to use a movement skill down the Z axis in this game. I never thought it would be possible. So like literally triple S tier, one of the best things they've ever done. I just wish they could do it for other classes as well. The rest of the other changes, I mean, it's easier for him to manage his stamina now, which is good, but I also feel like that wasn't really the core problem he was having. I'm kind of biased though, because I'm looking at him in the lens of like what he's going to be able to do in a 1v1. In large scale, I could still see him having a lot of potential just because his ability to kind of pop out of nowhere and drop an AoE or drop a bound or whatever. But yeah, in small scale, he still just seems so obvious, slow, predictable, and clunky to me. It's like I couldn't imagine dying 1v1 to a Sage unless he just like surprised me while I was grinding.
What did he do to fix his stamina?
A few things. He can recover it while blocking, and the actual cooldown on his Rift Chain was lowered from like 10 seconds to like 4 seconds. I don't know if that's more about the stamina or about the super armor that he gets. I think it's both. But yeah, just overall, I think you don't use quite as much stamina, or you have more opportunities to regain stamina than you did before.
It's really nice. That was a problem for me going from pack to pack to pack with Sage, is you could basically do your chain rift, I think it was 3 times, 3 full chain rifts, and then you would be out of stamina. It might be 4. But yeah, it just felt like you just didn't have very much. It felt like it was supposed to be a long range mobility skill, and then it really is only good from like, you know, really close range iframe.
Yeah, you can't really chase. It's much more of a dodge than it is like a long distance movement skill.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think the other thing that was surprised me about his little change skill is that it's invisible for other players. On my screen, you obviously see yourself, right? And I didn't realize until I like played with some other Sages that were close by, and when they did theirs, they were invisible, and I was like, I didn't realize that, and I think that's a really big opportunity there if used properly.
Yeah, I definitely think you can be sneaky in large scale. In a 1v1 though, it's like so obvious. It's like, oh, he went invisible. I wonder where he's going to pop out. I'll hold block and then grab him immediately.
Yeah. And maybe that's their goal. Maybe their goal is to make him more into like a Node War class and less of a 1v1 class. I mean, he is set up pretty well with the DPS right now to do it.
Yeah, I guess I'd be okay with that. I mean, that's kind of what Awakened Wizard used to be, right? He was the god of large scale and just trash in 1v1. And then Suck Wizard came along, and now he's just the god of everything.
Yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool if they did that. I think the main thing is just figuring out what they want. I think Probiz doesn't know what they want him to be, let alone what the players think he should be, you know? Because I feel like
Probiz cares what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, I think they just want him to be cool and neat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can only imagine the person who developed him wants the player to enjoy it, but maybe like Probiz, the company, doesn't really care. I could see that.
I do think he's going to be very enjoyable for a certain subset of players. I just I don't know, the changes they made this week were so odd to me. They were like very weird baseline things that I would think wouldn't. Like they're on their 22nd class now or something, like, and they're fixing things like how he pulls his weapon out when he sprints. And I don't know why those aren't like the first things that they iron out when they make a new class. There should be like literally a copy and paste like template that they can use when they make a new class to not have issues like that. And it's kind of shocking to me that we get these like, you know, pre-alpha problems with these new classes, and maybe that's just how it's going to be from now on since they're coming out every 3 months.
Yeah, you'd think there'd be a game tester who'd have like a checklist, like, all right, check pulling out animation, check pulling away with animation.
Right.
You
It's
know,
so
like
basic.
check running and pulling out animation, check running and putting away animation.
Well, I'd think, at least they'd walk with them, put the weapons out, take the weapons out, put them away. I don't even know if that falls under playtesting. I think that falls under turning on your computer. But,
Yeah.
I also discovered something very bizarre with Sage that apparently this happens with other classes like Guardian as well, where his super armor self buff that he gets from Rift Chain
yeah.
does not appear on his character. It appears on his buff bar. So if you actually gain super armor from a buff rather than from an active frame of an ability, you don't see the super armor indicator on your character.
Mhm.
And that's just kind of shocking to me, and also makes me wonder like what other missing things we might have from that indicator.
So, like, you're saying like it's like a skill ability that like give you like 10 AP, but instead that gives you super armor for 10 seconds.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you buff, I guess
Mm.
Guardian has the same thing with e-buff or something like that. Like if the super armor that you grant yourself from that, since it's a buff, it doesn't show up in your super armor indicator. It shows up in your buff bar.
It seems like that should do both, right? Because if you did your,
Definitely should do both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's fine that it shows
Any
on the bar.
super armor that your character has should show up where your super armor shows up. It's kind of unfathomable to think that it wouldn't or doesn't. It's that was just so crazy to me. And I guess Guardians have been dealing with that since. I mean, I don't really feel that bad for Guardians, but it's still a really weird, like, just issue for the game to be having.
That's okay. We don't feel bad for Warriors. So it's been like kind of this weird thing, but for Guardians, but like I've had such a problem with the indicator in the past week, like getting knocked out of just the absolute middle of my iframe time and time again, and then like e-buffing after I get off the ground, and my e-buff just disappears and it puts my weapon away, stuff like that, and I don't get any of the buffs from e-buff. Like all that stuff has been like super bad the past probably 2 weeks. But I tell you what, man, when I've got that 10 seconds going, I'm not getting knocked down at all. And so I know it's hard to compare because we don't have like a 10-second super armor skill.
You know what it
to
is?
compare it to, but what?
I bet here's why that's happening. It's because the indicator that you're getting on your screen is probably client side. Like when your client thinks that you're doing a certain attack, and that's why this game has always had some level of desync, because like you see the animation for Gravedigger or whatever on your screen, but someone else might not actually be seeing that. Depending on latency, they might have grabbed you out of that. And so if the super armor indicator that you're seeing on your character is tied to an animation, which is tied to your client, but your buff on your buff bar is actually a server side thing. Like your buffs are probably not client side. And so if you have super armor as a buff, the server is going to be enforcing that 100%. It's not going to be negotiating with someone else to see who is faster. You know what I mean?
I want to die.
Does that make sense what I'm saying, Shiny?
So this game uses something called a rewind time style of lag compensation. And it's interesting because, yeah, like let's say if I do something that gives me super armor, like you mentioned, the other person doesn't see it. Now, let's say I have 1,000 ping and you have 1 ping. If we both shoot each other with a freeze at the same time, yours is going to go first. Now, one weird go off to me first because the server is like, oh, hello, freeze from him, but not from me. But here's the weird thing about how this game does it. The way it processes projectiles, I'm sorry, this is half off topic, but half on topic, is interesting because, like, let's say if you have something that's essentially a hit scan ability, we both use it at the same time. You CC me first, and that ends up getting canceled. However, if I shoot a projectile, the projectile damage and CC also ends up getting canceled, which I find kind of weird. But yeah, with this style of lag compensation, it's pretty much the server, I should say, the netcode's job to take the three realities, your reality, my reality, and the server's reality, and do things in a way that kind of works for everyone. So there will always be some cases of me saying, I know I was in Super Armor or iframe and I got CC'd. And there will always be cases of you saying, oh, I know I saw this person between these animations and I hit him at the right time. They didn't CC them. And it's a very common misconception that like people would say, oh, the server artificially induces latency or some weird stuff like that. But no, it's a thing where it's kind of trying to meet in the middle based on all of the things in a way that works for everyone. But there will always be, or everyone, like the two players. There will always be
Do you
cases.
think they can fix it? Like, do you think it's just an inherent problem with?
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, if you had, like, if this were just a 1v1 game, like a fighting game, and you could have the double confirmation or whatever those things are called, then that would work, but that's not how this is, unless they wanted everyone to have, like, unfathomably long delays while it waits for everyone's connection to. But anyways, it can be improved. Netcode is actually kind of scary and difficult and yucky to do things. It can absolutely be improved in a variety of ways. However, we will always have this problem to an extent. And furthermore, as they make things faster and faster and faster paced, it only gets worse. So the pacing of the combat now compared to like really early days of the game is something that makes it a lot more apparent when we have problems like this. But yeah, it can be improved, but there's always going to be some amount of it no matter what. Because as far as I understand, I don't think Pearl Abyss can increase the speed of light through optical fiber. So we're always going to deal with some of this problem.
So I think everyone expects that there's always going to be some amount of latency or desync happening. I think what kind of tilts me with this game is that I'll get things that seem like they're completely avoidable. Like, for example, I will stiffen someone and their character will take the stiffen and I'll see the stiffen animation, but then they'll teleport like 5 meters back to the location where they were at on their screen where they got the stiffen. And so I'm looking at that and I'm just confused because I don't understand why the server like can instantly resolve the fact that they were CC'd, but it takes like a full second to resolve their actual position. Like, why aren't those things either desyncing or lagging together? Why are they lagging and desyncing separately? You see what I mean? And then in addition to that, like sometimes I'll see someone teleport back 5 meters and then a second later they'll teleport up 5 meters to their original position that they desynced back from. So it's as if there's multiple, checks or like compromises happening spaced out from each other. And I don't understand why I can't just pick one and stick with it. It's things like that, I feel like you can't really just blame on the speed of light. That's clearly just netcode that is arguing with itself for way too long.
Well,
Well,
one thing that and maybe you can shed some light on this, Big and Shiny, is back in the day when they released Kama Sylvia, there was a lot of lag that they had. And this also happened with Valencia and a lot of other releases. And one of the things they did is they changed the update pace of player location from being relatively instant to being long-paced. And so now your player position is updated only through WASD and character inputs and like camera positioning. And if there's any type of desync that happens with that, which would only naturally happen, through a long-form connection, it updates and verifies that with the player location. But since they delayed player location now, and it only gets updated every so often, that causes the massive delay where you see like several seconds later, the character will teleport back to where they should be.
You said some kind of along the lines of what I was going to say, that yes, not everything is going to be done at the same time, which will cause some of these gigantic potatoings with things. Think of it as like if you see the grossness of large group PvP lag, think of it as what you're doing not only has to be related to one opponent, but every single other opponent there, and what every single other opponent is doing has to be related to you. So there's a lot of stuff. And in fact, that's why games that have a lot of large group PvP are part of the reason that they often design their own custom engines that are a lot more optimized for that kind of thing in one way or another. Just because it's actually extremely difficult to do it even as well as they have done it, despite all of the issues. There's a reason that you don't generally have games, especially ones this fast paced, with the gigantic amount of people in one place all doing things that have to be handled pretty precisely.
Do you think it's cost saving things, Big and Shiny, that they're just trying to save money? That's why they're not increasing tick rate.
It's this isn't just tick rate. It's like, so you have tick rate, which is basically the number of times the game loop refreshes. You have client report rate. You have, it's definitely not just tick rate. There's a whole, like, that is only one of many things that all that all go into this. That's the limiting factors in a lot of these cases are not tick rate, actually. It's other things.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they've also outpaced themselves in some regard with, like you said, with the speed of combat in the game. Like back in the pre-Awakened days, this was way less of an issue. There was less super armor, there was less dashing, there was just kind of like less things overall that would be desyncing. And I like, even playing console, you could feel a massive difference from the pre-Awakened days. And then when Awakening launched, it was like suddenly the whole game was just dying in Siege, when before it was actually working like pretty well, considering the shitty hardware we were using and everything else. Like there really wasn't a lot of desync or even FPS lag. And then as soon as Awakening came out, it was large scale was almost overnight, like unplayable. And I think that the game is continuing to move in that direction of like faster and faster pace, more animations, more super armors, more invincibility. So it's like they had an engine that worked with the original version of the game, but then content wise, they just outpaced their own engine in a way that I don't know if they're ever going to be able to catch back up to themselves. But yeah, anyways, what were we?
Well, we started talking about Sage, and then that went into
walking.
Node Wars or something, and it turned into lag. I'm not entirely sure. We're talking. Oh yeah, we're mad about UI stuff. I think that was the.
Oh yeah, the super armor not showing up. Yeah,
That's what it was. Yeah.
Damn. So, did you go over the Sage changes at all, Shiny? Did you have some thoughts about like what you would like to see different about the class or anything like that?
Not about that, because I dream too much and I just enjoy my Sage. However, kind of what, I forget who it was, but one of the humans here said the stamina usage was somewhat excessive. It's nice that they address that. Other than that, I don't know. I guess it does have a lack of skills, but that's something that is very much to be expected without Rabam skill and without it's like, because they're releasing new classes so frequently. Of course, they're probably going to put a little bit less into the design of them, which I do somewhat reject. I think it's partly because I see it as kind of a wizardy class, and I wish it had more funsies things like utility, like wizards usually have. But I guess it's a sage, not a wizard.
Yeah, it'd be cool if he had, I don't know, it's hard to know what like a time-based class would, because what we don't want is like more slows. Like,
Yeah.
That's what I was afraid of when they were
I think
talking
it
about
should
time
have
wizard.
a passive that slows everyone by 99% within 100 meters.
That's the kind of thing I was terrified of when they first said they were releasing a Time Wizard. I was like, no, please don't give him a bunch of slows. But yeah, I agree that he could have a little bit more like, just kind of like fun or interesting, unique abilities. They did a really good job with Hashishin in that regard, like just weird, like hourglass and, becoming the tornado. Like there was a lot of flavor and just quirks that class had that was very, very unique.
Big and Sean, you've been playing the game since the launch. What is like the biggest pet peeve that you have that's still not fixed after all these years? You've been playing since more or less the beginning, right?
Yes. My pet peeves are more with the community than they are with things in the game. I do not have one that really bothers me that hasn't been fixed. How about you?
My biggest pet peeve is probably PvP balance. I wish they had taken more time to it. It's not something that I would probably devote a lot of time into anyway, but I think it breathes a lot of life into the game. In whether it be open world or node wars or GVGs, and I kind of miss that, like, rivalries that we had in node wars back in the day, and like, or whether it be at Pirates or node wars or GVGs at Sostens or something.
I think a lot of that has less to do with balance and more to do that you had a lot of players both in very close proximity and just because of how much more puny the game map was, and that was also kind of furthered by the fact that you only had one or two really good spots to grind, and also people generally grinded them in party, and you saw more of like the PvP guild ego coming out when an entire group was getting messed with instead of just one person.
Yeah, I kind of like that thing. I think that's what I'm missing about it. And I mean, part of that is maybe community or the age of the game, but I think part of that's just they changed the open world to be less, less PvP friendly, and they changed GVGs where you can't deck any guild anymore, and they changed node wars in countless ways at this point. So
there's got to be an objective, and there's got to be some amount of scarcity. Like if there's dozens and dozens of different spots for people to grind on dozens of channels, then you're going to have less conflict and less reason for people to have to band together, et cetera, et cetera. There's got to be some sort of like actual objective that groups are trying to accomplish together. I think this new like desert oil drill thing that they're doing could be interesting. I don't know enough about the details to see if it's going to pan out or not, but giving guilds an actual objective that they have to claim and defend in the open world, and then giving other guilds some incentive to come and keep them from doing that could definitely be interesting. But I think there's a lot of spontaneous, like emergent objectives they could put at different grind spots, kind of like the monastery boss, where he has a guaranteed drop, but he announces to everyone in the channel when he spawns, and so people might come fight over him. Like stuff like that could definitely be a bigger focus in the game, I think.
Your microphone looks like a robot wiener.
It is actually, yeah. I detached it from a larger robot structure that I.
It's how he asserts dominance. He rips off the phallic.
That makes sense.
Yeah, the robot was getting a little uppity, so I had to. Yeah,
understandable.
Looking at his girl the wrong way.
And then she said, "That's not my expansion slot," and I said, "That's not my gold-plated 25-pin connector."
That's pretty much how it went down.
So is your problem with the community like related to your series, the Naughty or whatever that was?
Well, that is one problem. You probably only see the one video that someone.
Yeah, where's
where's episode 103?
So
how many naughty videos are there, and how do we
20 something?
20? Is there a playlist?
It is all unlisted because I do not know how thingies are, but no, that is definitely an issue I have with the community. However, that is okay. So, how to say that is with a small subset of the community. Actually, all of my issues are okay. I guess I have a lot of issues with the community. Yes, that is one. But my biggest issue, I'd say, is that it's a game of gray areas played by a community that tends to only believe in black and white. Um, and yes, the cheating thing too is pretty bad. The fact that they do it so brazenly. I had a Siege Guild talking openly in front of me about cheating when I was in their Discord, probably one of the last things they'd want to do. And you have so many of the guilds that owe so much of what they have to rampant cheating that has gone on for a very long time. Now the thing is, I guess I didn't select that as my biggest problem with the community, because that's something that is unfortunately going to happen regardless. And I don't see it as something that is in any way unique to this community. It's still something I see as very problematic, and I think more should be done about it. But I think that it's something that you're always going to see.
Yeah.
So what are
that's
you
true.
doing with these when you're catching people? What are you doing with these videos? Are you reporting them, or are you just kind of, is this like just your own personal amusement?
Oh.
What's
No, I do things that involve reporting people that let me think how to say that. I have reported people I have caught in the videos, but that's not my main way of doing things to report people. I have other ways of getting the info that I need to report people, which I can tell you about secretly, but not here for reasons that'll be
Okay.
obvious later. But let's see. I usually keep them, and the reason I don't show people is because, unfortunately, so a little bit of the story. I guess I don't know if it's because it's so common in many communities that it never goes anywhere, but no matter who I show the videos to, nothing really comes of it unless it's for reasons of guild politics. So I learned to only show these videos, unfortunately, if someone has a guild political issue with one of the people, because that's the only time it gets any decent publicity. It's like, instead of, like, there's another player, for example, in a certain guild known for cheating. Well, what guild isn't? But anyways, I also got an even more incriminating video than the one you saw of him, and no one thought anything of it. Rather than being a disgraced and permanently banned, which none of that ever happened to him, player, nothing ever happened. And for funsies, I went on one of my fake Twitch accounts, and because this individual has a stream, and I asked him if I can have gear advice, and he said yes. And then instead of asking for gear advice, I linked him being caught, and it was pathetic. Like, he didn't even, I guess it's one of those things where he knows he was caught, but he didn't even try to deny it. He just started trying to rationalize it and talk about how much time he doesn't have. But yeah, but no one thought anything of it. And of course, I just got like yelled at and banned from his stream by someone else. But the fact that people even stick up for it.
Why are you careful to
Sound-
not like mention names and stuff? Are you just not wanting people to get harassed? Are you just being nice, or like are
No,
you?
I don't care. It's just that I don't know Twitch rules, and I don't know if they'll ban me. That's the only reason, to be honest.
Oh, if Twitch is going to ban you for accusing other people of cheating, but you have evidence.
No, it's not accusing, but yeah.
Yeah. Like that's what I'm saying. It's not like you're witch hunting. You're literally just pointing directly to the evidence of the cheating.
I think that people seem to like you clearly used it in the proper way, but so many people misuse or misinterpret, maybe even intentionally, the term witch hunting, because witch hunting to me is supposed to imply that it's someone who you have absolutely no evidence, absolutely no incriminating incriminating evidence against, but you're like, oh, this person's clearly a witch. Let's do whatever we do to witches, drain their mana or whatever. But no, this is very different. But just from what I've been told by other people,
The main thing Twitch doesn't want is they don't want like one community fighting another
Yeah,
community.
they don't want like targeted harassment and that sort
Right.
of thing. But there's a difference between saying like, oh, this person's a cheater, go harass them, versus like, here is a video of someone cheating.
Right.
yes,
Don't harass them, but maybe we should send in tickets to get this person banned for this
presenting
cheating that we're
objective
literally
evidence.
watching. Yeah. So it's weird when you say that like there's not a response unless it involves guild politics. I mean, there's certainly exploits where I've seen that be the case, but in terms of like support tickets, I would think that the customer service people don't care or even know about guild politics for the most part. So are they just not understanding the reports you're sending in, or
Oh no,
what do you think is
it's
going on there?
there are again some thingies I cannot say for obvious reason, but the thing is, like at Cacao, sorry, let me get, okay, I know what I can say. So they're not going to ban just based off of a video, as they shouldn't. The very kind of rigorous standards they set forth for what constitutes proof of someone cheating, I think, is a lot of times the bottleneck. They have banned a whole lot of people for gross cheating, and that's very great. And from the little bit that I've figured out, I think Prolibus is going to be even better at it. But what it comes down to is having evidence that someone has cheated, maybe, probably, is different than hard proof that can warrant a ban that is not going to have some issue later because the proof isn't really solid.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So you think that do you think they don't have the tools to like secure the evidence that these people are definitely cheating, or do you think they just don't understand it well enough to get that evidence?
That's well, I mean, definitely with how much information is logged and that they have access to, it's okay. So another thought is that, but because of course a game to a game company is a business, I think some of what it comes down to is how much money does rampant cheating actually cost them. In fact, I was talking with one of my friends the other day about the very interesting thing that there's a lot of research done on regarding how people behave based on their perception of fairness. If there were a comprehensive kind of, I don't know, case study or whatever you want to call it done, with this trying to evaluate how negative of an effect, and there are so many variables for this. Like he joked that it would be like doctoral dissertation level kind of thing to really have a proper model, even one that's specific to this, not a generalizable one, or how much cheating costs them. But yeah, anyways, I think if something like that could be done, maybe Big Scary Pearl Abyss. I don't know if this is Big Scary Pearl Abyss. I think KR Pearl Abyss is Big Scary Pearl Abyss. But also, I say Big Scary Pearl Abyss because in KR, people are held criminally liable for cheating in games. I do not know how familiar you are with that, but they take it really seriously. That's not much of a problem. I feel like resources aren't allocated.
I want to clear up a few things to make them a little bit more generalized for people who might not be following very closely. So when you submit evidence to Pearl Abyss or Cacao Games, that could be like a photo, right, or a video, and that could be doctored in some way with Photoshop or video editing technology. So they have to verify that information for people who are wondering what all this means. They have to verify that the video evidence actually did occur, and it can be time-stamped and tracked to a certain date, and Pearl Abyss needs to find it themselves, not just a video evidence or photo evidence. That's more there's a lot more details to that, obviously. But that's sort of why Proelbis has to have a financial reason to do this, and they can't just take like a strict video or photo and then just ban somebody off of that, right?
So here, I worked for Albion Online for a little while back in like 2016 or something, and it was very, very easy for us to catch people doing certain things, which is why, like, if you're talking about automated, like people getting caught, that's a little bit harder. But if you have a report, no, of course you don't ban someone because of a video or a screenshot or anything like that. But if you get a report and there's a video of someone and it looks compelling, you then take your own step to go into that person's account and see, like, okay, where are they logging in from? What's the hardware that they're logging in from? Like, it's not just IP. People think that just because you use a VPN, like the company can't figure out who you
Media
are.
access control address.
And there's so many other things that we had at our disposal to see if somebody was account sharing or if they were botting or et cetera, et cetera. And that company had way less resources than Proelbis. So it's I don't know, it's weird to me that that they would get a report like that and not be able to confirm it within literally minutes. So I don't know.
It's a resource thing. It's like, for example, the pilot services. What was I going to say? I forgot. Oh, yeah. The pilot services, like, yeah, you think that if you have a specific computer that has logged on to many very high-end accounts, or it could even be something as simple as the number of hours, the total amount of time per day with no more than 10-minute breaks that there's input being received, and then average that over a certain amount of time. But I don't know. That's like, I would assume, well, it's related to resources, or maybe they didn't get the go-ahead from Giant Proelbis. I have no idea.
And another thing is the hardware IDs are actually completely different in different countries, and like Windows IDs. So you could take the serial number off of like the GPU or something, right? Because that's accessible information a lot of times. And then those are different in different countries sometimes. Or like Windows ID, I'd have to look into the conversation, but those are ways you can track as well, because some are distributed different countries. Like all the ones that start with WD are from a particular area in the world, and it's a whole.
I mean, we didn't even have to get that complicated. We could literally see what computer you were using, like what you were logging in from, regardless of your IP address. We knew exactly what hardware you were using to log into the game. Yeah. And it was, like I said, it was very easy to figure out who was cheating and who wasn't. I never had any confusion about it. There was like
one thing, going back to the money side of the thing is, do you think that if players perceive the game to be less fair because of cheating that's happening, that they're less likely to spend money?
Well, and that's has to do with all the research that's done on this area. It's like, how are people going to behave? Is someone going to start cheating also? Is someone going to become demotivated? So there have actually been a lot of controlled experiments done.
Anecdotally, that absolutely happens, right? I mean, I've definitely been, especially when I was in more competitive guilds, over and over I heard the sentiment, especially when it comes to piloting. I mean, Sasha literally said this like out in public. He said, for months and months, I told my guys not to pilot, but after 2 years of everyone that we're fighting using pilots and nothing being done about it, I finally just said, okay, fuck it. Like, if you guys want to do it, then do it. They're clearly not going to do anything. So, like, even if certain people hold out, like, everyone's going to have a different threshold of how much they see the other guy cheating before they finally just throw in the towel and go like, okay, well, if nothing's going to be done about it, then let's, I'm going to cheat too. I've seen that in every game. I saw that with speed hacking in UO like 20 years ago. I mean, it's always like that. If people feel like they can get away with it, or more than that, if they feel like they're fighting against people who are getting away with it, then yeah, they're going to start doing it too.
And I guess it all comes down to why someone plays the game. If they play it purely for personal progression and it is of little concern to them how progressed another person is, it's not going to affect them as much. It's kind of like in sports, let's say, if every single other person is using performance-enhancing drugs, you're clearly at a disadvantage, and you're essentially being punished for playing it legitimately. It's a similar thing, and it's very unfortunate. And I also think that's why there's so much of a responsibility to properly crack down on it. Like, for example, a certain Siege Guild's guild Discord that I got access to by being given an account, I exported the entirety of their guild history and wrote a program to go through it. And the amount that they talk openly amongst each other about using pilot services, even comments like someone, like there were a bunch of instances of one person saying to another PM, being like, tell your PNOI to stop doing this or stop doing that or stop griefing me at Star End. And they talk about that. They talk about account buying and account selling. They talk about RMT. Back then, they talked about buying sailing towns a lot, very openly. And it was just a pretty absurd thing to read.
Oh yeah, I remember back when we were first like kind of busting people for this. I would just DM certain people in Snake that I used to be in with Vertex, and be like, "Yo, what's the deal with this piloting service?" And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, here's the link. Here's the guy I talked to." Like, no, they're not shy about it.
I got a guild discount for. And do you know that a member of that certain guild even they bought one of the pilot services they use. They bought them new chairs. He bought them like an AC unit. One person got them pizza, and they got sent a picture of the people at the business with the pizza. I was like, thank you. And when Corona lockdown happened in their city, there's like a picture of one of the pilots posting the notice saying, I'm sorry, I won't be able to pilot for your account. And me and one of my friends talked about that we should start our own quote piloting service and then just get all their login info and blow up all their gear.
It probably wouldn't be that hard. Yeah,
I know, right? Because it's like, that they were desperate to have people grinding out. And there is one person who got kicked out of a Siege guild for bringing his pilot to Siege. That was one of my favorite stories.
Jesus Christ.
Honestly, the pilot's probably more skilled than the player by this point.
Probably. More hours. Yeah. Man, that's why I was rolling my eyes so hard during the whole mapping thing, because it was like, yeah, of course, like, BR and Barcode shouldn't have done the mapping thing. That was never the argument. But the how sanctimonious and holier than thou all these snakes got, especially the snake streamers, talking about how cheating has no place in the game and how they have no tolerance for it, and like this whole rant that like certain people would go on in the partner channels trying to like virtue signal to Cacao about like how they just it's so bad for the game to have this kind of behavior. And it's like, look at what fucking guild you're in, dude. What are you talking about?
I have a lot of
Sorry.
I know you first.
No, the crazy thing is that it worked. That's all I had to say.
Oh yes. And that's quite unfortunate. Kind of what Moreland said about like who that's coming from. The fact that it's like, people made a lot of money doing that, but that is a fraction of the total money that a lot of Snake members have made. And this was kind of funny. One time when I was talking about the rampant cheating in that guild, someone who was an officer messaged me upset that I was saying it and said he doesn't know that anyone in the guild that still does it. And just that day, I had caught 2 people from his guild. And I said...
That's what they say when you step on their toe, is we don't know anybody now that currently does it. That's the whole fucking thing.
I want to know how those people in Snake reconcile the fact that they are purportedly against cheating with the fact that they're in a guild that owes their status to years and years and years of rampant cheating.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I honestly can't with certain, because there's certain guys in Snake that I actually like, and I really can't figure out if they are just genuinely like blinders on. They just like people don't talk about it around them or something, like if they actually don't know, or if they're just like, if that's just part of the game, like if that's just part of their stream persona and they're just very good at being fake online. Like some of these guys, I really can't figure it out.
Yeah.
I know.
Well-
Oh yeah.
I think some of it is like they're aware of it, because I have like a friend or two in there, and
Do you?
well, this one, but but the thing is, like I think they're aware of it, but it's sort of like you're part of the cool kids now, and to be part of the cool kids, you don't talk about it. Is sort of like
Yeah.
the thing, you know. I feel like that's the
Well,
thing.
some of it too. I don't know. Like I remember getting to a big argument with Huntler about all this, and he doesn't seem like the kind of person who would cheat in this game. Like just from my interactions with him, he seems like someone who's genuinely trying to play the game legitimate. I could be wrong about that. I don't know. I don't know him super well. But at the same time, like the justifications he gave for being in the guild, it was very much like similar to the kind of stuff Sasha was saying about like, well, you know, the other guilds do it too, or it was like, well, I don't personally have enough evidence for that, or like the evidence that I have seen isn't convincing enough. It was like there was never enough to make him just stop and go like, oh yeah, you're right. Like my guild is definitely got some problems that we need to fix. Like it was just always absolving himself of any kind of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, well, I guess first the thing I can address is that like the people I know who I get along with who are in Snake, there aren't many of them, but some of them are quite nice. The behavior of most people in that guild would suggest to me that they're members of the involuntary celibate community, in fact. But I learned from Scary GM, I can't say the normal word because Twitch will ban me, so I'm not going to say it.
Yeah,
but anyways, so I have to reword what I say. But anyways, it's not used in a derogatory way. It's describing behavior. It's an accurate delineation of how
I got you. I'm on the same
not
page.
using it the way people use it colloquially. But anyways,
It's changed in the last couple of years.
yes, but they seem to understand it's going on, and while they don't support it, this is just from what I understand talking to people, they see it as, because it is so widespread, there's no way that they can completely separate themselves, completely distance themselves from it, in a way where they won't be benefiting from it in some way. Because if they want to be in a siege guild, then no matter what, they are going to be in a guild that owes some of what they have to that. And for them, it's just a compromise that they make. Some people are willing to make more compromises than others. And while I don't agree with that, I have a lot more respect for that than someone who will go to the ends of the multiverse to rationalize what they're doing by being deliberately ignorant to what's going on. I have some friends in Siege Guilds who have told me privately about either certain players or certain things to report because they can't say it publicly because they will be ostracized by their Siege Guild for speaking out against cheating. That's how ridiculous it is. It's like they're forced to pretend like it doesn't exist or to stick up for.
Well, do you feel like you're being ostracized at all for,
Not
having...
at all.
No?
I mean, there are a lot of people who I very much don't get along with, but I don't consider that ostracization. I don't want to get along with them.
That's fair. That's a good point.
Good way of putting it. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
like
how
that.
I feel with a lot of the Siege community. It's like I know that a lot of them don't like me, but I honestly don't think about it at all.
If a Siege player gets a head injury, is he diagnosed by a neurologist or a geologist?
That's deep.
Yeah, it's honestly, while I do have a lot of friends who do Siege, part of the reason I kind of enjoy saying things like that about the Siege community is that so many of them are worshipped. I don't know what it is about the community. Maybe it's the type of content or the publicity they get for that content that is more likely to attract deviant personalities, and that's why you have so many gross people there. I don't know what it is, but so many members of the community quite literally seem to worship Siege players, and I always get some of the most interesting responses when I casually make jokes at their expense. I think people are more used to it now, but earlier on, the amount of fury that would be directed toward me when they would say things like that, I found interesting.
Yeah.
I think
It's
part of it
kinda
is
fun.
that it's such a like the masses don't understand the cheating problem in the game because all the information that they hear is generally filtered through Reddit, which is on board with the narrative, or it's a big streamer who's already in one of the guilds that are participating in the narrative. So the only people who are, the inlets of information on that are basically streamers or YouTubers who aren't a part of the Siege community, which in BDO, that's kind of like the pinnacle of the game, so there's not very many of those left.
And it's, in a way, as horrible as this is to say, maybe it's a good thing that a lot of players don't know, because again, when I mention how people behave based on perceptions of fairness, it might not be that good for the health of the game if people knew the extent to which the top players had a hand in some kind of cheating.
I think the only way
because-
I think there's two roads, right? There's one where you hide it and it exists for the length of the game's life, or two, it gets revealed in some great capacity, and then it gets worse because of that. But then it forces the game developers to fix the issue, which long term fixes it on a competitive level. But I don't know if that's the second option is not guaranteed because it requires Pearl Abyss to actually to act, which we don't know if they ever would.
I think they would. Considering how
What's bizarre to me is that some kinds of cheating, like people have these crazy reactions to, and then other types of cheating, no one seems to care. Like again, the mapping thing, no one's saying the mapping was okay, but the amount of actual hate that Black Rose and Barcode got for that, I mean, there were people that wanted to drive them off the server, that were like griefing them at grind spots and nodes and like literally trying to get those guys to quit the game because of what happened. And then, you look at other top guilds like Cho and Snake, who are just objectively worse in terms of cheating. Like the evidence over the years has just piled up. And like, not only do people not care at all and like not try to mess with those guys at all, but often they are the ones who are then ostracizing BR and Barcode for doing like 1/10 as much cheating as they did.
It's just an awareness thing.
1/10. I don't think Barcode cheats that much. 1/10. Wow, go easy on them. Come on.
It's just it's an awareness factor, and if you look at, the streamers that are in Snake, there's a large number of streamers in Snake, right? And those streamers have a huge influence on the community, which then has a huge influence on Reddit. It's just awareness. That's what it comes down to. And, the awareness that has, been going to Snake and Cho and other, people who cheat in the games has been very low in comparison to what the publicity that was given to the mapping.
Yeah, it's the visibility around a clip of 100 people killing map bosses versus like sparse clips of someone maybe getting piloted at Star's End, right? Like it's just the emotional punch behind those two things.
Mm-hmm.
What you said, people are really bad when it comes to truly understanding the magnitude or significance of something that's not somehow directly appealing to their senses. It's like, yeah, they saw all of the people doing that, and it's easy to be like, oh, what a terrible thing. Let's do everything bad I can think of to them. But when a problem is a lot less visible, not only a lot less visible, but also there isn't this huge, how to say, it's kind of like when people make a bunch of memes about something, that tends to spread the information a lot more effectively than someone doing a dry and objective but very comprehensive write-up on that thing. It's similar to this. It was this huge kind of almost fun, noisy, loud thing that they did, which made the whole mapping thing so
Yeah.
effective.
Yeah.
And also,
Yeah,
it
the
comes
same
down
thing with, like the digging exploit and like all the memes that came out of that. Like there was something catchy and funny about it, and so that spread like wildfire.
Well,
Yep.
you've got a little bit of that, with the video that I saw of the guy that got caught piloting because literally he clipped his pilot grinding, and you like proved it with his pets and stuff like that. Seeing even since a cunt and seeing that guy get caught doing something so stupid is just so fucking visually appealing to me. So if you want to do any more of that stuff, I'll more than happily put some song and dance on that for sure.
Gotta say, we should make a compilation. You said you have 20 of these. We can make a compilation and
we'll
get
make
that
it fun.
Yeah, we can get that.
The guy who got caught there, it's funny because my first run-in ever with him, I had to dispose of him at Histria because he was being unpleasant. And then I forget what led to this, but he was really gross to one of my friends, so I put him on my free spot list. And every time I saw him at the new orc, I would remove him. And one time, someone from a guild that's, I guess, one of his enemy guilds or something showed up and was like, "Oh, what's going on here? That guardian looks like he has 500 gear score." And then we started talking about it, and then I mentioned, kind of casually, that he is also a confirmed cheater, and that made the guy very, very, very curious. So of course I showed him the video. He asked if he can spread the video, and I'm like, "Yeah, I suppose." And that's how that happened. And it's because it was a guild thing that it became well known. But I mean, seriously, is he that brazen about it, clipping his own pilot? Like, his stupidity cannot be spanned by a finite basis of vectors, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in that guild, they had a whole like sea monster payout for real money thing, and I don't know how many people in the guild knew about it. I forget the name of the guy who was running it, but he, at one point thought that I would be interested and messaged me about it. And I was like, the last thing I need is like, I don't know. I pretty much immediately ended the conversation. Like, no, I'm, this isn't something I'm interested in. But I don't know how many people he is in there like DMing, or if this is something that the leadership knows about. Like, unless you're really going to press it, it's hard to say like how infected the guild is.
Oh, I can probably help with that. What guild are you talking about?
This was Vertex, like.
Oh yeah. First I thought you meant Snake, because they primarily bought payouts from people from a guild called Sailors that started by a disgraced and permanently banned fish botter. He started it on another, whatever it's called. And yeah, anyways, they sold like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of sailing payouts to Snake and other Siege Guild members. But for Vertex was actually the guild that I was in their Discord to help one of them. I forgot what they wanted help with, but members of their leadership, like the officers, were present when they were talking openly about buying sailing payouts in front of me. And I really wish I had Shadowplay on for that. So it was definitely something that was talked about openly, even in front of a stranger who's very anti-cheat. And members of their leadership were there. So it's something that was absolutely known to them. Yes. And that was around 2 years ago.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, man. I can kind of see, like, I don't think I like went out of my way to try to get that guy kicked from the guild or anything. It was kind of one of those things where it was like, no, I'm not interested. Like, don't message me about this. But at the same time, like, I don't think I reported the guy either. So I feel sort of like complicit in that. Like, I can see why a lot of these people in Snake even if they're not participating in it, why, they like that community, and they like that's where all their friends are, and like they don't want to turn on their friends, and like I can definitely see where it gets complicated. But that's why like it needs to be the actual company that's enforcing these things, rather than like people having to turn on their own guildies.
Yeah, and
I don't know. Do you think it's reasonable to expect these guilds to enforce, like, at the same time, when I was actually in a leadership position, like thinking in terms of Aftershock, we definitely didn't tolerate anything. Like if we got even the remotest hint that somebody was doing something, like we got a couple reports about some of our high-end members, and there was ways that you could kind of like figure out if someone was like, we got a report, there was a few people who were saying like, you should go look at so-and-so's monster kills because we're pretty sure they're like botting on an alt. So there was like stuff like that we looked into, and if we found any evidence, like we would yeet them from the guild. So I feel like it's something.
That's why people ask for my monster kills?
Is that what it is? They're trying to see if you're botting?
Oh, I guess so. I never realized until now. Okay, well, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like it has to be established from like the early days of the guild. Otherwise, it kind of it festers, and then it gets to a point where it's like, well, what are we going to do? Are we going to kick literally half the guild for doing this shit? Because some of these siege guilds, it's at least half of the members that have done it at least a few times.
Ultimately, like, sure, you could say it's guild leadership, or like as guild leader, it wouldn't happen underneath your banner, right? And I think that's realistic to say, but ultimately we know there's always going to be someone who's going to be the rotten apple guild leader, right? And then that one will just let all the bad apples into their guild, and then the other guilds will feel pressured to follow suit because they'll be falling behind. And so it just kind of leads one to the other until it gets to a significant enough problem where Pluribus will actually address it. And the question really comes down to is, when do we think it'll become a big enough issue for Pluribus to address it? Like, it's already infected probably at least, probably 70% of the region guilds or more? I don't know.
Well, there's only 5, so.
I think that it's more than a big enough problem for them to address it. The issue is it's not visible enough. It's something that is so accepted, and whoever it was asked about, can you reasonably expect guilds to enforce it? I think you can expect them to, and I think you can blame them for not doing it. However, I think it is a valid opinion to say that if their goal is to be competitive, and those who have to enforce it have failed in their duty to do so, then maybe you can't blame them for doing it. I'm not saying that's my opinion. It absolutely is not. But someone could logically argue that, and they could make some very strong, very solid points about that. And that is unfortunate, because that's never something that should be able to be argued.
Yeah, it should have been stopped before that can become an argument, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is something we'll see with the upcoming Node War changes, right? Maybe they'll crack down on the Siege guilds cheating at the same time as they release new Siege.
Those two things are connected in any way.
Hey, I mean, right now,
Omega optimistic.
I mean, I think the competitive integrity is important. If people don't see the competitive integrity there.
It, man, that's why we need this compilation video. We need we need to make another Reddit drama over this if we actually want PA to care. They don't know how deep this goes, dude. I mean, half the fucking partner program is people in these guilds. They don't have any idea.
Right.
I could actually show them. I showed Cacao the grossness of it, and they were very receptive and very responsive, luckily, a lot more so than people expect. And that's also why I so strongly believe that the issue has nothing to do with the company simply not caring. There's other stuff going on, which I'm not going to ask them, because simply it's not my business. It's their business. I'm simply someone who will collect and gather and present information.
Which goes back to why you said Big
them.
Pluribus needs to be the instigator to fix it, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, we also it's on the community to demonstrate to them the degree of like how big of a problem this is too. Like they're not going to find it on their own without proper reporting. Like this, it was the same thing under Cacao. I had the same experience. Like whenever I could actually get Rotaz to respond to me, he was very much like wanting to hear reports and like wanting to act on them. And he would say things to me like, you know, thanks for bringing this up. Like we wouldn't have saw this or we wouldn't have caught this if you didn't bring this up.
GM Rotaz is great.
So like, yeah, he was great when he wasn't completely ghosting me, but yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like we definitely have to do something if we want. I've kind of just like learned to accept that this is how the game is, which is one of the reasons I don't siege anymore. I just do T1s because it's capped, and like if people are cheating and piloting, it kind of doesn't really matter because you know you can only bring 500 gear score anyways. But yeah, it would be nice to feel like the high end competitive part of this game was a little more meaningful. So, I mean, if we want to take it seriously as a community, I think we can.
It'd be nice to put these hypocritical fucking projecting pieces of shit on the back foot for a change instead of letting them, you know, drive this narrative of virtue signaling constantly because it's mentally fucking exhausting. And so, again, if you've got this pile of stuff that you need to make entertaining so people can make it palatable, I think we can figure that out in pretty short order, man.
One thing
Very
that
unfortunate that it's needed,
yeah.
isn't it?
Well, I
Sorry,
think
what
part
were
of
you
it
saying?
is it's just like everything comes down to being able to having the lowest common denominator, being able to understand it, right? And like a conversation like this, if it is too five-head or too like big-brained for like your average person, like after
We can slow
hearing,
it down for you, Potion. We can slow it down.
yeah, I would appreciate. No, I mean, like, I mean, that's kind of like the point, right? Is like even us having this conversation, is too like hard for your average person to understand. I think.
I don't believe that.
The other
not-
issue, I think.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Bit.
Me first or you first?
Go ahead. You, big and shiny.
Hello.
Hello.
What was I saying? I was dreaming of something. Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. Is that having conversations or even making it entertaining, unfortunately, usually isn't enough because one thing that really separates successful cheating communities from unsuccessful cheating communities is how good they are at weathering the storms. Do they just let everything bounce off of them and take it as a big joke? And are they possibly really good at squashing anything whenever it comes up? It's kind of like my other friend I was talking about said something to the effect of so much of that kind of power is just people's perception of it, which is why you have things like entire governments that collapse seemingly overnight. That probably doesn't make sense said in isolation. But the point is that you have so many organizations of one kind or another that are so absolutely corrupt, and it's kind of like the parable of the king with no clothes. Where it just takes it being said by the right people and in the right way for it to really, really catch on. And so much of that seems to be a mix of luck and a mix of saying it in a way that they're not going to be able to just potato all over you, make it ignored.
I think one key thing is controlling the narrative, right, is a really key point. And this goes as far as to say, like, they actually have a rule on the Black Desert Reddit where you can't witch hunt. And this rule is actually abused to actually protect the cheaters in a lot of times, where you'll actually post something that is legitimate on Reddit, and it'll actually get removed or shadow banned or...
Well, that's also kind of the wrong place to be submitting evidence of cheating to,
yeah,
right?
But
that's
where... I agree. That's where, but that's how it has to get spread, and the only other way to get that spread is through other communities, and the only other communities that exist right now that are that large are like potentially the Boss Discord or like streamers or YouTubers.
I think you could make a post on Reddit, but it has to be from someone who has credibility, like Big and Shiny, and it has to be compelling evidence. I think the problem with the witch hunting rule on Reddit is it's like some random guy will post a video of somebody grinding in a way that's kind of weird, or he's like not responding, and they're like, "Oh, this guy's piloting." Like, is that evidence? Maybe, maybe not. Like, there's a way that you have to do it. I think that's why like a lot of those posts get removed. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I don't know if they would remove like outright objective evidence of a variety of people, like a demonstration of a problem that's widespread in the game. Something like that, I don't think they would remove. I could be, that would be kind of wild if they did.
Response first, you know.
I want Sage's awakening weapon to be a Klein bottle.
A bottle.
A Klein bottle, not a bottle. Sorry,
What is
off
that?
topic. Well, okay. Should we talk about Klein bottles, or should we do this? Because I can talk about Klein bottles for the rest of my entire life, even if I live for a billion years.
I'm maybe we don't need to talk about it for a billion years, but I am kind of curious what a
about
Klein
900
bottle is.
No, Klein bottle, Klein, named after Felix Klein,
All
who
right.
was the inventor, but it's more appropriate to say discoverer of the Klein bottle, as math is discovered, not invented. But basically, it's just like a Mobius strip. It's a non-orientable surface, and a non-orientable surface. We can talk about like surface normals, but the best way to say it is that you can have a closed path such that the directrix, the line thingy, is reversed when it's moved around the path. It's non-orientable. But anyways, a Klein bottle is a four-dimensional manifold thingy. And depending on whether someone's an optimist or a pessimist, they may say it has infinite volume. They may say it has zero volume. I like to say it has. I say both depending on the context. It's amazing because, like, just like you can draw a cube on paper, on two-dimensional paper. It has self-intersections when you draw it. You cannot represent a cube on paper without those self-intersections. An immersion, embedding, not immersion, not an embedding, there's a difference. But anyways, an immersion, you can't have an embedding of a Klein bottle, but an immersion of a Klein bottle in 3 dimensions is akin to the 2-dimensional drawing of a cube. An immersion of a Klein bottle, whether it's the standard one or the figure 8 immersion, will have self-intersections. As is required of when you try to represent a 4-dimensional shape in 3 dimensions, or a 3-dimensional shape.
So it has the same problem as the cube, then.
No, it's not. It's not a problem. But I can show you my Klein bottle one day if you want. The same. Yes, I love Klein bottles so much. I changed my gold emblem to a Klein bottle. But remember earlier when I said about the book on differential topology, Klein bottle, you study things like Klein bottles in differential topology. That's of course not all you study, but even if it were, that would be great. It's basically functions on manifolds that are differentiable and in differential topology. What was I going to say? I forget. Something about
the picture.
No, I'll never post it because it's secret. It's my Klein bottle. No one can see my Klein bottle.
I thought you said you were going to show it.
Oops.
I don't sound too basic here, but can we go back to Snake being a bunch of cheaters?
Oh, sure.
Fuck you're going on about?
Wait,
I feel
I love Klein bottles.
I'm gonna have to look this up when I'm not streaming.
Okay. Why not when you are?
That I'm focused on other shit.
Oh yeah. Okay. We can talk about not Klein bottles.
I appreciate taking the time to explain. I'm googling it right now, actually.
Okay. Okay. What's the Euler characteristic of a Klein bottle?
What the fuck is happening?
Okay.
Can we call this episode Klein Bottles?
I can see how this would be hard to represent in a 2D space.
I'll give you 3D. Well, yes, 2D also. I'll give you. Oh, do you want to talk about dimensions? I'll give you a hint. It's the same as the Euler characteristic of a Mobius strip, or a cylinder, or a donut, aka a torus. But you should always call it a donut.
All right. I'm
I'm
already
being
confused.
told that Evenson left Vertex and joined Snake. Is that true?
And then he left Snake and joined another guild.
because they found out that he was a cheater, and Snake doesn't allow cheaters.
Oh yeah! Wow, silly me.
What happened to Vertex? Is Vertex gone?
You might be able to trust Vertex on a Saturday now that he's gone.
They're not called Vertex anymore.
Yeah. What'd they change the name to this time?
Oh yeah, they passed lead to like Scarletta or someone, right?
Mhm.
And so he went and joined Snake. Wow! After that video spread around, they recruited him. Wild.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what. I guess I shouldn't be surprised.
I think I'd be more surprised if they didn't recruit him.
Literally after, how many times has that video been shared? Like literally after it got posted in every single BDO Discord on the planet, they recruited him after that. Like, how are people still under the illusion that this guild is in any way legit?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily about the legit or not legit. They just want to be part of the cool kids that are the powerhouse. You know, if you have gear, the ultimate symbol of proving that you have gear is joining Snake. And that's, you know, the only way you can get in there right now is through very limited means. Either you gotta have a big wallet or other nefarious things.
This is wild.
I do think it's kind of sad, though. And also surprising that so many people would do this, but I guess if you look at it in the big picture, like League of Legends, people buy accounts and people always like buy currency in Path of Exile, and I guess it's more widespread than is expected, and that there's people who are just okay with that because that's just how they play every game. You know.
I guess so. Those games are like you're not buying things that are giving you a competitive edge in those games, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, obviously, anytime you're RMTing in a game like that, you're kind of like cheating is cheating, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely think in an MMO, especially a competitive PvP MMO, there needs to be special attention brought by the developers to keep that stuff out.
I feel like Kakao made a big show of it, right? With the banning so many of the piloting accounts, and I feel like they did a good job there for a little bit before the announcement of Pearl Abyss taking over. I feel like they made a pretty good run. I kind of hope to see the same thing happen again with Pearl Abyss, kind of showing that they can do the same job but better than Kakao Games. Because I don't think they've made any big, like, hey, we banned this many people for cheating, or we, they haven't made any big shows like that.
We've done puny ones.
Yeah, they've been doing little band waves. Is there a way to scrape the names of characters on the server to see who the possible people getting banned by the messages, how they star out the name, but it's a certain you can see the first couple letters and you can see how long the name is?
Yes, that should definitely be possible because of the thingy that they have on the site.
We might have to do that. See if we can narrow some things down.
You might get unpartnered for that, homie.
Okay.
Think so?
I haven't been partnered yet.
I noticed.
There's no chance I'd partner you for that, dude.
I haven't been either.
Be a partner, but it's a lot more scary than the Kakao one. But
yeah,
I still
the NDA requires you to potentially get signed for all your money or get sued for all your money.
Yep, all of it. It says that right up there.
Go.
Just make sure you're broke before you violate it then.
Yeah, good luck suing me for my $42 in savings.
Those lawsuit collecting money is a whole different thing, man. Anyway.
It's scary because it's more official.
I think we were talking about Sage updates.
Oh, man. Yeah, I did this whole big patch note thing with 2 topics, Sage buffs and Dream Donkey.
Did anyone get a flying donkey?
I did. I love my donkey. I spent like 2 hours jumping off of my favorite place near Kamaselbia and then my favorite place near that other place with it. But it doesn't turn as well as an actual Pegasus.
So it's like a tier 8.5?
Does it have what?
Does it have any benefit over the Pegasus, or is it
Yeah,
just
it's a
effectively
donkey.
Monkey, dude.
Donkeys are much better. Who wants
Well
a stupid,
said.
fugly horse when you can have a donkey?
Whoa!
It's a chicken. Who wants a chicken?
I want
Yeah,
one of those
horses
little
are kind
birds
of
in
like
Kama Sylvia.
chickens,
That's
which
what
is
I
why
want.
I want a
right?
donkey.
I thought this was just an event, but this is a permanent thing to the game now, right?
It is.
Wait, someone
Are you
said you could
super
kill Mouse
serial?
Move with the donkey. Is that true?
Oh my gosh! Nope. We have to edit that out. Don't say that
Are
again.
they actually
Don't-
better? than-
Don't
One
repeat.
second.
Don't
I'm on
repeat
my
that.
donkey now. I'm gonna try.
So
Not
this
letting me autopath.
that Big and Shiny was talking about is I linked your video about Evenson in my chat, and somebody types, "What am I supposed to see in that video?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it
must
definitely
have
needs
eye
to be
wax, just like you have ear wax. Just look closely.
I'm sorry to call you out, dude, but you're a fucking idiot.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Whoa. No, it needs a little explanation, but once you explain it, it's obvious what's happening. But yeah,
Nation, really?
Listen, all right. I mean, you have to explain everything like you're talking to me, all right? And then that will
You
help.
can mouse move it.
well, you have to
That's
be
so
familiar with
cool.
like the player, and you have to know that like Z leveling, like you have to have some context to know what that would mean. Like not everyone is immediately going to understand that unless they're already familiar with the RPG scene.
I'm sorry. I thought it was plain as fucking day obvious.
It's so true. You can actually mouse move your donkey Pegasus. Wait, question. It's important. You said it's permanent to the game. Do I have to do anything to make it permanent?
They put it in the actual patch notes, which makes me think that's permanent. There's an event.
It also seems to be an event. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I know what they should do. They should make it so that you should have to do something such that your Pegasus donkey lays an egg and then it hatches and that gives a permanent one, but your first one isn't permanent or something like that.
I would like
Donkey
it if you participate during the event period, you get to keep it permanently, and everyone else after that has to go through like some type of awakening process.
The donkey egg.
Yep, exactly.
Perfect.
Donkeys are related to shies, and that makes me angry.
They are? They look
That's a
pretty different. I think they look more similar to Zerkers or maybe Warriors.
I mean, related in
Can you ride the donkey on any character right now, or is it only a shy?
You can ride it on any, but I do not know if it has wings on any. Shall I try?
I think in the patch notes it mentions the patch notes itself mentions that shy is the only one that can have the wings.
I think it's because Zerker is too heavy for the donkey to fly.
I honestly
more
wanted the
practical.
Zerker to be able to ride it. I'm a little sad. We'll give him Dumbo. He'll be able to ride the elephant version next year.
Oh, I want a guild elephant with wings. Would it have white wings or would it have elephant colored wings?
I think you make it like dragon wings, you know?
Ah, that makes sense. How about like fairy wings, but they flap really, 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 really fast?
Like a hummingbird.
Huh?
I could see that. That'd work too.
I like that idea the most, actually.
Okay, I was looking at Global Lab patch notes, and that explains why I was so confused. So they say in content underneath the patch notes, shies are living the unbelievable dream. Shies can use new skills on donkeys. Double jump, press E to glide. Only shy class can use these skills. And that makes me think that it's a permanent addition to the game. The event portion, if there's anything with that's probably going away. But I think the donkey itself is probably permanent. I hope it's
That is
permanent. I think it's a cool
Very
addition.
good to know. Thank you. Now I don't need to get a Pegasus horse because I have a donkey.
Can it glide just as far as a Pegasus, or does it glide shorter?
It looks not quite as far, but it's good
I think
enough.
because it's slower is the reason it won't go as far, but it still has wings, of course.
Oh, that makes
Yeah.
sense. That's fair.
You know what they should do for April Fools instead? They should have the One Piece Pegasus Pierre instead of the normal Pegasus. They should turn all the Pegasuses into that.
what's a one piece?
Big jet. It's One Piece, like that.
Oh, like when you kill one person in Node Board?
No, you gigantic potato. You're so potato, you're getting your peel all over the floor. It's One Piece.
That wasn't very nice.
Oh, oops. These things happen.
True.
I will show you the One Piece Pegasus.
Somebody like
Wait, I found it.
2 or something? Like, I don't.
It is
It's like a big and shiny way of describing how something is.
here.
It's in one
That's
piece.
what it looks like. The Pegasus from One Piece. That's a much better Pegasus than the standard Pegasus.
What the fuck is that?
It's a One Piece Pegasus.
Are you talking about? Is that from the anime?
Huh?
Oh,
Uh-huh.
I understand now.
did you
One Piece is a pirate anime.
Oh my god, I was trolling, dude. Really?
Yeah, apparently the Pegasus is from One Piece, so it makes sense now.
A
Never
lot of
changed.
things make sense now.
I got it.
There you go.
So Dream Donkey, I hope it's here to stay, man. To be honest, I like if they remove it, I hope they add it back with like some way of earning it. You know, I do really like the addition of it.
Yeah. After all the suffering I went through getting my actual Pegasus, I'm a little salty that Shy just get it for free. But
Well, I
don't
mean,
know.
everything just gets
All
easier
horse
over
system
time, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Life doesn't, but you know.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Shiny, I want to ask you about what you think about this reversion back to the DR meta. Do you think that it is a good idea for high-end players to be going back to the DR build and giving up on evasion?
Very good question. So, I found a really long thing to jump off of. Give me a second, flying.
Take your time.
No worries.
Okay, I landed. But anyways, so the thing is, so much of how people build comes down to it's kind of like I met so many brand new players who just finished seasons who were like, why can't I grind? Such and such Siege player told me that if I want to be tanky, I need evasion and DR is a meme. And now people are kind of doing the same thing, but the other way. So DR and evasion both have their own set of distinct strengths and distinct weaknesses. For example, a high DP or a high evasion hybrid, or a high DP AP hybrid build. With evasion, you can negate a larger percentage of your opponent's remaining hit rate. With that, then you can negate of their remaining effective AP by stacking the equivalent amount of DR. However, for a fully offensive build, you not only lack consistency with evasion, because it's punished more by DR debuffs than a DR build is in most cases, and it's punished more by evasion debuffs for fairly clear reasons, which are a lot more likely to be on you almost constantly in a large group setting. So it lacks consistency. Not only that, but you're also giving up crystal flexibility and you're giving up straight offense because of offhands and gloves and stuff. So I've actually said for quite a while that for fully offensive builds, with certain exceptions, it makes more sense to do DR because a difference of 52 DR and however much evasion, you're not likely to gain a significant amount, or in some cases, even any amount of tankiness in a full AP evasion build over a full AP DR build, just because you're not going to get someone's hit rate sufficiently low that it's going to be that much better, if any, than the additional 52 DR, especially when you consider the high likelihood of having things like evasion and DR debuffs on you or your opponents, having accuracy buffs. So I very strongly believe that her fully offensive builds now end a long-ish time ago, that DR is something that made a lot of sense. But for high DP and for AP DP hybrid builds, that's when evasion starts to make sense. I can explain it in slightly more mathy terms. If you
Yeah,
would
can you
like.
define high?
Oh, no, I didn't mean that. I mean the reason that's the case. High as in, but basically, if you're sacrificing a large amount of your offense for defense. For example, if I have a
Okay.
Kantaro spell plus an evasion, offhand, I'm sacrificing quite a bit of offense for defense. And the thing is, because you have the unchanging until you get to the extreme values linear relationship that exists between accuracy and evasion, versus the much more interesting and much more fun to reverse engineer set of functions describing the relationship between AP and DR. That's very important to look at, because that's the reason that
So most people, when they're asking about DR versus evasion, they're basically doing AP builds, and the trade-off that they're looking at is their boss gear and then maybe Nuver versus Kudum. Right? They're not. A lot of people aren't necessarily going to be putting on like a Centaur belt or changing out any of their other accessories. It's mostly, what armor build am I going for, and am I going to use Kudum or Nuver? A lot of people aren't even looking at like evasion builds or vanguards or anything like that. So in that situation, I mean, it seems like the upside of DR is that you get a little bit more accuracy on the gloves, and I guess you get additional AP brackets and resistances on the Nuver at the cost of the ignore resist on the Kudum. But in terms of actual tankiness, it seems to me that like a high-end DR AP build, you get very little benefit from your actual DR after a certain point, versus evasion just kind of keeps, like, the more of it you get, the more you benefit from it. So if you were running like a straight AP build, and you were picking armor for like ultra endgame 700 gear score loadouts, do you still think DR has a place there in terms of actually staying alive, or do you think it's just a raw like glass cannon build at that point?
I can help with that. Kind of yes to both, because the thing with DR versus evasion at super end game is, if you're fighting people of roughly equal gear score, you need sufficient evasion to get your average opponent's hit rate to somewhere around 80% for that additional, the tankiness you gain with that additional DR to be negated, and that has to be considered. And all of the potential accuracy buffs your opponents have and evasion debuffs you have has to be considered. And just using my formula for hit rate as a function of accuracy and evasion, I can see that in a full AP build with evasion things, it's highly likely that someone's hit rate against you will be near or at 100% in large group settings. Now, if I were to use a high-end full AP build, I would actually use a grab resist necklace with DR and a Nuver and other AP things for full AP, because I believe in disrupting someone's win condition, or denying someone their win condition at being a very effective way of surviving.
Listen,
if I can't just tank their damage.
people are going to start buying Diamond Manos necklaces again. You can't be
Manos
saying that
Ruby
too loud.
necklace. Yeah. Do not worry. I already have mine. They can buy all the ones they want.
I already have mine, he says.
But it's funny because it's like the way that part of it's a mind game. Like, after you resist a couple of a ninja's grabs, it's not just the utility of resisting a grab, but how reluctant they are to fully commit to engaging you if you're just going to be hit trading them with something that's going to CC them when their grab likely fails. But it's very enjoyable. because you get to see how different classes behave when they fail their grabs. Like Warrior runs across the entire game world. Ninja does their whole combo just like they would if the grab went off, and it still usually works. Mystic stands there for 10 seconds not knowing what to do. It's very fun. That is the build I would use. And the reason for that is with evasion in a high-end AP build, I will absolutely be more tanky in certain situations than I will with DR, but that doesn't mean that is the case for every situation. And because I value the consistency, that's why I would do DR, especially in a large group setting. And 1v1, I'd probably still do evasion. Because so it's like my evasion needs will differ by hundreds depending on the class I'm fighting. If I'm fighting a DK with Overlord up and accuracy accessories, even with over 1,000 evasion in my full TP build, they'll have the same hit rate or roughly the same hit rate against me as a full AP with Offset and RBF crystals player will in my full AP low evasion build. So that's what I mean by there's a lack of consistency. Or let's say if I get the Sage debuff on me, plus they have a Valk buff on their side, plus weird add-on things, and then fighting a class with naturally high accuracy modifiers, it's as if even reasonably high evasion simply doesn't exist. So it's punished especially bad by other people's buffs and by debuffs applied to you, because just like your evasion can negate quite a bit of their hit rate, they can easily stack a lot of things that will mess with your evasion. Is like everything or nothing, kind of. It either performs remarkably well or pretty poorly.
Yeah. So I mean, here's how I kind of look at it. Like, I agree, evasion, there's definitely situations, if you're fighting like a Suck Valk or something, there's definitely situations where your evasion build can get countered. But I feel like as a DR build, with evasion, it either works or it doesn't. With DR, it feel like it just always doesn't, right? It feels like you just don't even have the chance to survive to begin with. You don't have the lucky roll that you can make to evade the right number of attacks to stand up. DR just doesn't mitigate someone with 300 plus AP. And I mean, maybe it's possible that I just don't have enough DR yet, and that at super end game it finally comes back around. But the AP brackets just seem to outscale DR builds. Anything past like 280, really. Like it feels like it's impossible to even have the chance to stand up as a DR player.
Which is precisely why I mentioned that I would do it with a grab resist necklace, kind of because in full AP evasion, I'm not really going to survive either. But disrupting someone's win condition with a grab resist build will allow me to survive a lot better. It's like if I die so easily in a full DR build, if someone has a 75% hit rate against me, I'm going to die just about as easily with 52 less DR and that 25% dodge rate. So it's difficult again because there is honestly just a huge amount of damage in the game, assuming it's full AP build against full AP build, that with evasion or with DR, I'm not going to survive that easily, which is why for full AP, I like the idea of DR, but because of the additional flexibility it offers you when you want to do utility builds like that. I guess that's hard to explain myself better. What I was getting at is I like to build to survive, even at the expense of damage. So if I decided to build full AP evasion is not going to let me survive. DR with grab resist is going to let me survive better than full AP evasion in a lot of the situations I get myself into. Because I want to build to greatly minimize my class's weaknesses. One of those is the weakness to grapple. So that is kind of my take on it.
So what if we look at a more extreme evasion build, like a more hybrid build where you have like Centaur Sissel evasion offhand, but you also have, enough AP from pin tongue grad rings and pin distortions, whatever, to offset that to where, like, I don't know what Biohack has in his hybrid build, but he still has like 270 or 280 AP or something like that, even with the evasion offhand, the evasion belt, and the hybrid neck. In a scenario like that where you're really pushing your evasion, do you then think that against an end game player that's going to allow you to stand up, or do you think there's still too many instances where someone's shredding your evasion or buffing their accuracy to the point where they're just going to chew you up anyways?
Definitely, you can survive a lot of encounters. And the thing is, so many people are like, oh, your evasion hybrid build can still get one combo. Why do you use it? It's like, yeah, a synthetic combo against a DK with ebuff is not the same as an actual encounter. It's like you can't look at it in an inappropriately reductionist way. So yes, you can definitely survive against endgame people, because so much of being in an evasion build is playing in a way where, like, let's say if you have the huge evasion debuff on you, maybe you play a bit more defensively, or the but yeah, anyways, no, absolutely. In a high-end evasion hybrid build, that works incredibly well. It's not going to make you survive in every case, but you're going to be considerably tankier than you will in a potato AP build.
Is it possible to kind of, similar to how earlier you were saying, like the percent increase from crit damage versus the percent increase from HP on the ring reform, is it possible to look at like an AP evasion build versus a hybrid evasion build and quantify how much
Yes.
offense you're giving up versus how much defense you're gaining by switching
Yes,
to
absolutely.
offhand?
However, that while it's definitely possible to look at that, it gets complicated because, again, when you try to break something down to its fundamental constituents and examine it that way, that doesn't always tell the whole picture. Because while I think people put way too much emphasis on killing someone in one exchange, in one combo, that in certain cases can be very important. Now, like for me, as a Wizzy, if I take away someone's ability to one combo me and my ability to one combo them, does that benefit me or does that hurt me? It really depends on the matchup. So it's important to examine things like that. So while it's very possible to quantify the amount of offense you lose and the amount versus the amount of defense you gain, it's a lot more complicated when you're looking at when you're trying to answer the question of, is this something that is going to be beneficial to me? All things considered.
That makes sense because some classes are. It makes sense because some classes are higher like accuracy, or some classes are like higher evasion buffs or evasion debuffs and stuff, or like particularly maybe their gear is one or the other. So it can become situational wise the best.
Yeah, there's definitely a ton of variables. I'm just wondering if you have a ballpark, like if you had to guess how much offensive power you're giving up versus how much staying power you're trading for.
I don't like to guess. I can calculate though.
I guess what people want to know is it, like what should be the generic meta build for your average player today.
Every single meta gives birth to a sub meta.
Yep.
That counters it. Let's say everyone is like, oh, evasion's bad. No, DR is good. Like there are people in my friend's Siege Guild in Taiwan server who are like, oh yeah, everyone's building DR. We can take out our Jin Vipers. Guess what stat that makes really good? That makes evasion really good. So there's no one size fits all. It's a 4-way rock, paper, scissors. If I play against you and I use rock every single time, I would assume that after 30 or 40 of my wins, you would be like, maybe I should consider paper.
So
yeah,
that's a good example. I guess it like the question of I hate this question too, as far as like people coming in a chat and just saying what's the meta. But what I'm trying to figure out is like what are 2 or 3 questions that a player can ask themselves to figure out which build they want to go for. Because you're right, there's so many variables as far as like what's going to be better in what situation. But new players don't have the experience or the context to really analyze a lot of that. So I'm trying to figure out like when someone comes and says, you know, should I go DR or evasion? Rather than just being like evasion's meta or DR's meta, what's like a couple questions I can have them ask themselves that would lead them to the answer themselves? You know what I mean?
So that's how I do it. So it's hard to imagine it that way. Pretend like you're a new player and ask me. That's easier for me to do. Okay, now I
Streamer.
pretended like you're a new player asking me. Never mind.
Video, and he say evasion bad now. I go DR question mark.
Who said that?
Jackie Felix. He say evasion bad. I go DR
Okay, first I
question
asked him
mark.
how much drool he got on his keyboard when he was saying that. After that, I will answer something to
Felix
the
is
effect
number one
of.
wizard. He say evasion bad. I go DR.
Will you
I like
marry
Jackie
me?
Felix. He's probably not that quite of a dummy, even though he is in a Siege Guild. I'm pretty sure he's one of the.
I don't have any beef with Jackie, for the record. Shout out to Jackie Felix.
love beef.
Well,
Nah, he can eat shit. You kids are right.
I think one of the easy ways to
Tastes
explain
worse
this
than
is that
beef.
evasion beats AP, AP beats DR,
Yeah, but that doesn't
DR
answer
beats
the question,
accuracy,
right?
and accuracy
can
beats
help.
evasion.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to answer the question. So the first thing when you ask me that, which I will always ask, is this: I would say, first of all, what level of gear are you at? Because the answer is always
So I have full Tet gear, and I'm about to start going for pin, and I'm trying to figure out which pins I want to go for. I'm planning on getting into high end PvP and PvE at some point. I'm working on it.
Okay, when you say high-end PvE, do you have specific spots in mind? And when you say high-end PvP, are you talking about 1v1, small scale, large scale, and most very importantly, also what class are you? We have to establish all this before proceeding.
Yeah. So now I wonder if we're asking.
You lost Moreland.
Well, the thing is, like, people are going to give different answers to that, right? So that's kind of why we need the flowchart. If we could boil it down to, like, are you still aiming for Siege 1v1? That's question one, right? Are you prioritizing certain PvE spots or not? That's question two. And then maybe what class you are is question three. If there's like some somewhat simple flowchart that we could like plug in, you know,
Yes,
to
there
get
is.
I'll give you Potion Shop flowchart right here, all right? Get
Oh,
269 AP with Nuver, then get 269 AP with Kudum, and then build whatever you want to do. That's the
And then-
Potion Shop flowchart.
And then, what was I going to say? I reject your flowchart. I will make a decision tree. Your flowchart smells terrible. But the what was I going to say? Oh yeah, I never remember what I was going to say. Okay, so what was I going to say? Oh yeah. When you Oh yes, when you have slightly potato gear, such as seasonal or just after seasonal, you always want DR now. When it comes to PvE, DR is a lot more consistent than evasion. However, at high-end gear, evasion generally will take overall less damage. Both are very, very viable. And one way or another, that's down to personal preference. I'd say for PvP, if you are going to be doing heavy defense, offense, hybrid, or full defense, always evasion. And the order, you want to switch your armor. You want to minimize DR loss. So you want to do your armor first, followed by helmet and gloves, and then finally shoes. If you're doing ends, because your DR is puny and flaccid if you just get rid of all of your important DR things too quickly. So you don't want to do that. But if you're going to be doing a fully offensive build, depending on your class, let's say for large group PvP, if you're a ninja, the role that you're going to be playing, you're not likely to have all the debuffs on you that a lot of people other will. And on top of that, you're going to have gigantic evasion that is innate to, well, ninja. I reject ninja. I want that evasion. But so I would say,
are there any classes that particularly have like very bad evasion modifiers?
yeah.
Like, there definitely comes to mind, but I don't know the new values for like Nova, Hodge, Guardian. Do we have some idea of what their baseline evasion values are?
I want to guess. I want to guess first. All right.
Huh?
I'm guessing Hashin has low accuracy and scales decently with evasion. I'm guessing that Sage.
Well, every class is the same starting accuracy, but they have different starting.
383.
Yep.
Different starting evasion, it ranges from 283 to 338. 283 is only on Zerker, then the next ones are 303, and then you see a lot of 323s and some just above that, and then 338, which is only Ninja Kuno and Mystic Stroker for Magic. I do not know what the new ones are, as that has not been data mined, and it would be impractical to tests to get a really precise value. But in terms of what classes have bad modifiers, yeah,
It's like a 20 evasion difference. The difference between 283 and
4%
303
rate.
is pretty noticeable, right?
Yep, but the most important thing is actually not what their base evasion is, but what buffs and stuff they have. For example, if you have a Mystic, even though for melee it only has 303, the passive plus all of the other gigantic evasions that Mystic and Stroker get will benefit them quite a bit more than if they had 323. Yes, classes that have potato evasion all over the place, Zerker. And I mean, a lot of the classes like DK, for example, that just doesn't have a lot of things that buff your evasion. It's more, if a class doesn't have a lot of abilities, and I'm not talking about add-ons, every class has the same add-ons, 3, 4, and 5%. But if you have a class that doesn't have either passives like Sork, Mystic, and Stroker have, and Musa and Mewa have, but only for melee, and you don't have a lot of abilities like the Lan's dodge thingy and the Sork's 100% uptime, 15% evasion thingy that buff your evasion, then that is an indication that your class probably potatoes all over the place with evasion. But just like, I forget his name, but the beard person said, Hashashin has very nice evasion, but I think they have very nice accuracy too, which is why they're scary and I reject them.
I wasn't sure if they had a good accuracy. I assumed because all previous classes were like Lon, they have like really good evasion, but the trade-off for that really good evasion was lower accuracy. So I kind of assumed Hashin fell into the same bin because I knew he scaled well with the evasion. So I assumed the accuracy was poor.
Well, accuracy shouldn't be a mystery. When we data mined accuracy value, shouldn't say we data mined it. When accuracy was data mined, every class in the game had the same base accuracy.
Sorry, I thought you meant on your skills. I thought you meant like on the skills, like success, like Awakening Wizard has gigantic accuracy, but success.
Yeah, you can see those though. Those aren't hidden, right? Like
yes.
Your hidden accuracy is universal across every class.
Correct. It's all the same.
Unlike hidden evasion, which varies tremendously from class to class.
Yes, correct.
Wow, what about, is hidden DR the same way? Do we know anything about base DR values?
We do. It ranges from 23 all the way up to 50. 23 is on the classes like Witch, Wizard, Ranger, DK, whatever. And the 50, that's for Magic. And that is Mystic and Stroker. And then the next highest after that is 37 or 38. I forget. It's on Gigantic Fat Zerker. And then after that, you have 35s, which is on things like Warrior. We don't know Guardians yet, or at least I don't. And then you have things like 32 that are on Valk, and then they're like 27 or 28, and then they're 30s. Those are for Ninja, Kuno, Musa, and Mewa. But yes, it ranges from 23 to 50.
Shield classes really don't have that much more DR than ninjas and stuff. That's kind of interesting. Do you have any idea how stats like this are being capped in T1s? Because when the devs say that there's a 300 DP cap, that completely, there's so many different ways to interpret that. Like, what does that mean? If I'm way over the cap on both evasion and DR, is it taking half of each? Is it like prioritizing one over the other? Like, do you have any intuition for how the game might be doing that?
I have absolutely no clue. I wish I know. I wanted to test it at one point, but it was difficult to get the level of cooperation I would need from guilds who I usually don't get along well with.
We can definitely try to set something up, man, if you want to do that, because there's a lot of people who would love to have that info, including myself.
Very. I must undream first, which takes a lot of time, as the dreaming is very large lately. That sounds very, very enjoyable.
It sounds like there might even be a weird kind of hidden metagame in T1s where you're purposely wearing like very bad evasion to keep your DR capped out, right? Since like you probably don't have as much enough evasion to really counter people's accuracy at that cap anyways. There might be some weird like fuckery that you can do, like even like not wearing certain armor pieces or leaving certain slots empty just to give yourself more room to cap DR and other slots.
My
Like
assumption,
there might be some really weird stuff you could do.
my assumption, and I'll say why I make this assumption later, is that and it says 300, I'm guessing it means whatever they determine to be an acceptable value for 300 VP, that's what they're going to cap the evasion and ADR at. And the reason I say that is because at low values of AP versus high values of DR, or similar with accuracy and evasion, there'd probably be some nearly indestructible builds in tier 1 if it were possible to do it in a way that sort of lets all of your stuff get allocated to DR or evasion.
Yeah. Every once in a while I fight someone in T1s who feels like that, and I'm trying to figure out what they know that I don't know.
Serially? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, this makes me very curious.
It's not common, but every once in a while I'm like, did I just lag? Like I did 0 damage to that person.
Yeah.
I kind of figured they
This
used the
makes
same
me
code
curious.
as the as Red Battlefield, because Red Battlefield has like a cap.
Not even close, though.
So I kind of figured they use the same base code for
Yeah,
that.
but we don't know how that works either. And like, so the other question I would have is things that give you buffs. Like if I buff my accuracy or if I buff my evasion in a T1, is that getting counted? Like that has a huge, if I have a 12% evasion buff that's either going off or not going off, that's very important, like information to have. You know what I mean?
I believe I forgot about the pinch Taurus immersion of the Klein bottle.
We lost him to the bottle again.
Same.
The thing that I think about is like if it's an evasion build and it's 300 DP, it probably assumes that the hidden evasion is counted as regular, right? But capped at 300 because what was it? 3 hidden evasion equals 1 non-hidden evasion, one cheat.
Nope.
That was
What-
a long time ago. They got rid of that. It used to be all evasion versus evasion, all accuracy versus accuracy. 1 point of accuracy was effectively 1% hit rate, and 1 point of all accuracy was effectively
I'm-
0.25.
Yeah,
But they
I'm
got rid of
aware that they changed that. I'm saying that when you
Okay,
still put on a
sorry.
piece of gear right now, it still has in parentheses 125 hidden evasion on my pin red nose right now. And so what I'm saying is that they probably still, when they say 300, they're probably talking about sheet, but that probably also includes the idea that there's some available or allowed hidden evasion that lets through.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant that each point is less effective because it's not always a 3-to-1 ratio. It varies a lot from piece to piece.
Right.
That's why.
Yeah, because some pieces don't have
I
that
see.
allocation anymore.
Yes. I reject.
So I'm really
with less
curious
hidden
if they assume that it should all be like the evasion on an Orkenrad belt where you don't get the full regular evasion of like a Centaur belt, right? If they base the evasion you get, the hidden evasion you get or allowed in tier 1s based on the Orkenrad belt, you get way less overall evasion. Where if they based it on a Centaur belt, the hidden evasion that you would be allowed to be way higher, which would be really curious to see which one how they based that on.
I'm still guessing it's a lazy thing where it's just a certain amount of total effective evasion,
Yeah.
a certain amount of total effective DR. But that's the first, like in doing a test like that, the first series would be a bunch of what I call proof of concept tests to figure out like the big picture of this kind of thing to then figure out how it will be refined. So that's one that would likely be answered very early on.
Yeah, even like
Yeah.
generic things like that would be super helpful, I believe.
That would be so funsies. My
It is
donkey
definitely an
died.
interesting puzzle to try to solve. You killed your donkey?
It's because it fell off of a cliff and it didn't put its wings out, and I forgot it can die then. I have to run to town now.
What are some weird hidden mechanics or hidden interactions in BDO that you've discovered that you don't think a lot of people know about or that like amuse you the most?
Oh, everyone will know about most of the things I have discovered because I do it. Unless you're talking about before it was known. Oh wait. Oh wait. Do you mean like the mechanics like governing how like stats?
Yeah, I just there's a
Or-
lot of weird stuff in the game. Like there's been bugs about like, they nerf like Trina matchlocks in PvP, and then all of a sudden they like one-shot sea monsters. There's a bunch of like hidden stuff like that in the game. Right now, people
thought
are
you meant, like,
apparently
wizard
building
double
monster
jump.
damage to kill forts faster. Like there's so many weird things. I'm just wondering if you like have found anything recently that interests you, or things that you don't think a lot of people know about.
No, that's usually not the type of thing I look for. However, my favorite is the jump height build, and I found. I said both of the words at the same time. I find it a few different ways of doing a double jump, and it's really fun because I have one. So do you know the windows inside of RBF? You can get inside of it, and it makes it really weird for people to attack you. And you know the house at Star End? You can get inside of the house, and if people follow you, there's a place where you can make them fall into it, and they get stuck, and they have to escape.
Do you do that a lot?
I do it. I definitely do it. However, the problem is most people can't successfully get into the house because it's really weird. Like one time there was this group of strokers and warriors who I got some of them stuck in the house, but the stroker did his like weird teleporty thingy to get out, but the warrior couldn't get out. But I thought of that because it's the same window and you can be almost invincible if you get in the window. However, you don't want to stay in the window because then no one can damage you and they'll leave if they can't damage you. You have to give them hope of killing you. But that is one interesting interaction that's not very well known. Another is you can get inside of trees. Do you want me to show you how to get inside of trees?
Sure.
Is it in the spirit of the game?
Huh?
Nothing.
Spirit?
Yes.
Yes, of course. Let me. Okay. I don't feel like streaming, so I cannot stream it, but I will put it inside of Discord to show you. Give me a second. It's really, really important to get inside of trees. Yeah, give me a sec. This is the most enjoyable thing ever. Let me figure it out. Okay. Share screen.
I was getting cannoned
there.
by Jester at Star's End, and when I went to chase him, he dove like underneath a rock into this little like cave that was half under the worlds. And then I chased him in there, and I couldn't figure out how to get out.
What a potato. That's what I like to do to people. So,
Oh man. Okay.
let me show you. So the first thing you need is a jump height build. I don't know where my jump height elixirs are. Where are my jump height elixirs? I probably accidentally put them in storage. Here they go. Oh, I guess they were. Oh, here they are. Okay. So you need this. You need a jump height build of a Talus piece 2 set, as well as a shoes with 2 Magic Crystal of Infinity extension. And then you need a fish costume, and you need to know how to double jump. There are lots of different ways I can show you to double jump. But now the most important thing with jumping is you can go inside of trees. I'll show you the trees and the windows.
I'm getting like 3 FPS on your screen.
Yeah.
Oh, is it better yet?
It might just be the Discord quality.
Get rid of it and put back the thing. We'll put it in here. Okay, this should be either the same or better, but not worse. Okay.
Yeah, that's
It's good because perfect. So I need to find a good tree to get inside of. There's certain trees that are much better than others. And if it doesn't work, I can just show you the RBF trees. They're some of the most enjoyable. This isn't actually inside the tree, because you expect to get inside of that tree. Let me go to the RBF tree.
Is this something we should be showing?
Oh, of course. You never don't want to show getting inside of trees.
That's what I always say.
And you go to Star End, and you get inside of trees. I could show you at Star End if I can't find this one. But look, this is a Klein bottle. It's my guild's emblem.
Oh,
Of course.
Uh-huh. Okay, so they got rid of all of the places I used to like to jump on. Like, you used to go all the way up there, but you can't anymore. But anyways, they might have gotten rid of these too.
You think they're actually fixing this?
They definitely fixed
Better
the one.
not
I used to
fix these
AFK process on top
Where's
of
my
the
jump
map.
height food? Where's my jump height food?
You used to AFK
Here it
process
is.
inside a tree?
On top of the map, there's like a little edge you used to be able to stand on, and I'd just run up there and AFK process because no one ever look up there.
They definitely don't get rid of getting inside of trees. Let me show you. Why do I have my awakening? Anyway. It's very important. I remember.
How
I
much
had my
jump height do you need for this?
To get inside of it without getting on a rock, you need maximum jump height. Here, you're inside of the tree now. To get inside of it with getting on the rock, you don't need any jump height. I just prefer jump height.
I love this. They made the actual tree a physical object so you can jump on top of it, but they forgot
Now.
to make the top of the tree a physical object. It's such a BDO thing to do.
They're like, no one will ever get up there.
This. There we go. This is a slightly taller tree to get inside of. And sometimes you can jump from a taller tree to a shorter tree. I think this is a little bit too far, though. But yeah, it was a little too far.
little Tarzan action.
The video I'm talking about is so you pull people from here, and then you get them to chase you into here. And then you go through the window, and they don't know what to do. And then when they finally get to you, you go inside of here.
What the
And
fuck?
they try to get inside of it, but they can't get inside of it. And then when they finally do, you go out and you hit them when they're inside of it. And then there's some
things we have to do to make
really
RBF fun.
annoying places to go to. This one used to be really good. I forget what changed about it, but it made it really weird for people to hit you.
This is what 24,000 hours in BDO looks like.
This is, you may not like it, but this is the pinnacle of BDO play.
You used to be able to easily stand on top of this thing. So there's that. And then they also got rid of one of the best houses to go inside of. And you can also get inside of this tree.
So you can probably do this at Castle Ruins too, right? Since it's like copy
Absolutely.
and paste.
Oh, you should see the spot I can go to and see Cryo. I accidentally gave Guild Leader to my main. It was supposed to stay on my scout, so I can't CTG myself to see Cryo anymore. But I wish I could show you.
Yeah, just tag it at level 60 Sage and just walk right in there.
Reject. It has to be 60.
Mm-hmm.
My Sage is level 59. But yeah, you can go
-2.
wherever. But yes, that is a lesser known thing that everyone should know about. It usually is not this prohibitively difficult to get into a tree. The trees usually have a much lower, like this one. Even this one's pretty high. But if you want to get inside of a tree, this is how you get inside of a tree.
I actually love that this is in 5 frames per second. I feel like it's more immersive.
And then, I wonder if they got rid of this one. This is one of my favorite places to go to. Yeah, they got rid of it. They always get rid of the best places. That's why I stopped doing RBF.
Did they leave the
Yeah.
tower on the side that you can climb up? Can you still climb up the tower?
Which one?
The solo tower? There's like a solo tower that's like half dilapidated, half fallen apart. You can get up and in jump gear.
Yeah, all those spots are still there, I think.
Shiny, would you ever be interested in doing T1 Node Wars
That's scary.
or
Is
Node
it
Wars of any kind?
full- Is it full of mouth breathers like sieges, or are the people more mild manners?
Significantly less mouth breathers. They're still there, but many
gotcha.
fewer.
They don't breathe as hard either.
And they're
Oh.
so distracted with me, they won't even notice you.
You can also go here. It's really hard to hit someone when they're on this little thingy.
Oh, I think I've had to deal with that before.
That's really fun.
They're a fireball.
Yeah. Look, you can get inside of that tree too.
I just want to let everybody know that Red Battlefield will be very toxic for at least next week.
People won't be able to figure out how to do half of these.
There's a human
Yeah.
here.
This takes
It's human
practice.
doing.
Yeah, people don't do that. I need a fucking aspirin.
Oh, I hope you get your aspirin soon.
I'm getting it now.
Oh,
It's getting it now.
congrats. I hope
So
it
what's,
helps with your
uh,
morning sickness?
All right.
What's on the horizon for you in BDO? Just
pregnant.
more grinding
Oh.
and more compass?
Me?
Yeah.
Wait, what about grinding?
Oh, I was just asking what's on the horizon for you in BDO? Like, is there anything you're looking forward to? Is there anything you're working on?
Oh, yes. I'm looking forward to all of the grinding at the new spots. And I'm looking forward to why are there so many people here suddenly? Anyways.
Probably because they see you there.
Oops. Oh, I forgot. This is your thingy. Where you have it on your Twitch. Oh yeah.
Also, an RBF just ended, and everybody flocks to the one with one person.
Yeah, they see who where there's a person and they go and join.
That explains it.
All right. I had to go back to regular cameras.
So chat wanted me to ask you about this. When a skill says like X amount of damage times 2 and then max 7 hits,
Yes.
do we have a good understanding of what that means? It seems to
Yes.
sometimes mean different things for different skills.
Yes. Yes to all of the things you just said. Yes, one more time, just because. So, anyways, when you have a skill that says that, pretty much. Okay, so for example, my lightning spear. My lightning spear says 1368 times 3 max 9 hits. Pretty much what that means is that the one thing it almost guarantees is that it does not dump all of its damage in one place. With lightning spear,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you end your stream for me, please? It's messing up my scene.
no. Sure. Anyways,
There we go.
It will not dump all of its damage in one place of the skill. So if someone is right in front of me and I lightning spear all over them, it's not going to do 1368 times 27, unfortunately. If they're very far away, it also will not do that. If they're right in the sweet spot, it still doesn't do that. However, think of it as if you had something that was gigantic and fat enough to get hit by every single bit of that, and yeah, maybe it would. So it pretty much means that like Blizzard's Blizzard. In that case, it really just means that it's an attack with what is it? 1524 times 12 max 3 hits. It means that there are 3 different parts of the ability, each one doing 1524 times 12 for the absolute Blizzard. For Prime Blizzard, that one is 1408 times 1 max 27 hits. It pretty much means the same thing except 27 thingies. But with other abilities, it means that, like, for example, Wizard's new Magma Bomb, it's 1422 times 1, max 10 hits. It's a area of the skill, and contained within that area, there are 10 units of something that does 1,422 damage. So yes, it does kind of mean different things for different skills. It's really weird, but it either means that it won't dump all of that damage in one area, or it won't dump all of that damage in one unit time.
I see what you're saying. So you might have to stand in one spot for a long amount of time to take all the hits, or you might have to move around within the hitbox, or you might not even be able to be big enough to
Correct.
soak all those
Yes.
hits, depending on the skill.
Yeah, Sage has the ability like that. It's his 200%, and his 200% has such a like it has like 12 hits to it or something like that. But they're all these little tiny lightning bolts. They're very, very tiny lightning bolts. And so you might get lucky to hit 3 of those 12 lightning bolts on somebody. And so even
Mhm.
though the
That's
damage
not so
on
much,
paper
yeah.
is ludicrous, the actual damage in reality feels really lackluster.
So does that mean that with skills that don't say max X hits, that the animation is uniform and that anywhere you're standing in that attack, you're going to take the same number of hits at the same time?
Kind of. It's still a little bit finicky at times, but for the most part, it's safe to say it kind of means that, even though it's not like perfect.
So if the
Because I'm thinking of some skills where like the
Kind
animation's a
of.
little bit longer, right? And they don't say max X hits on them, but you can clearly only get hit by part of that skill, especially when it comes to like when the CC is applied. It seems like some skills apply the
Mhm.
CC right at the beginning, but if you get hit by the end, you don't get CC. Like there's weird things that happen there too.
Well, one thing that's really obvious as far as how animations work is Foxclaw on Ninja. The Prime version has a additional phase to it, and it actually has a longer animation because it actually has 3 parts to it instead of 2 parts. And so because it has an additional part, it actually has a longer cast time, and it makes it less enjoyable to play because of that. So if you want like a really quick like cleanup damage, you just do regular absolute Foxclaw because it only has 2 parts and it's very, very fast. And if you want to do like better damage, then you can do the Prime version because it has better damage scaling, but it's a longer animation. And other things like if it has like several numbers in there, like it has like hit and then it breaks it down for a second hit and a second and a third hit, and there's like 3 different lines. That means there's 3 different damage phases that if you get hit by the first one and you move out of the second one, you could dodge that one and the third one. So, for example, Sorceress Dead Hunt is a good example of that. It has, I think, 4 parts to it that you can dodge. And so if you get hit by the first one, the first one and the second one, it says hit 1, hit 2, but those are completely different animations, and also hit 3 and hit 4. And those are different ways you can kind of look at those abilities and kind of learn how the text is supposed to be represented in the game. And like every class, like Big and Shiny says, it varies because some are intended to be AoEs. Like Shy's Twirl is supposed to be like an AoE where it has, I think, something like 30 something hits on it, but you can't get hit by every single hit. You could dodge out of half of it.
Yeah, it's interesting too because some skills clearly have 2 different damage phases, but the tooltips are explained completely different. Like looking at Merciless and Grave Digging, Merciless clearly has a first part and a second part. Grave Digging clearly has a first part and a second part. On Grave Digging, it clearly says spin hit damage, smash hit damage for the first part and the second part. But then on Merciless, it just says max 2 hits.
Yeah.
So I guess it's the same damage for the first and the second part, but they're considered the same attack, even though you can stop halfway through it. I don't. It's very bizarre and inconsistent, it seems like.
Well, we already know that all the UI elements are done hand by hand. That's how we had the whole like crit damage issue with main hand, right? And that's how we had like issues with gear not being represented properly either. So we can assume that all parts of the game with the UI are hand done, and that means when they made Warrior, the guy who made Warrior is completely different than the guy who did the tooltips for Sage. And so the standards might be different now in the company. Or
Even within classes, it seems like each skill can be different or get changed or get clarified or get unclarified over time. So it's kind of bizarre.
Yeah,
Question.
I kind of assume it's just a change of hands, and everybody has their own like little way of they're doing it to clarify. And then when the new intern comes in and takes over, then it's just back to square one.
Shiny, what do you make of things like Slashing of the Dead sometimes just doing no damage? Someone said that all of Slashing of the Dead's damage is done on a single frame, and so if you have a lower FPS, you have the chance to just lose the damage on the skill. Is there like some truth to that, or some nuance that you're aware of? Because it doesn't quite seem to be right, but there definitely seem to be some skills that lose their damage more often than others.
So, first, before I answer that, does anyone want to see my Zerker, Mrs. Beefloaf?
Mrs.
Sure.
What? Excuse me?
This is Beefloaf, my Zerker. I will put it and then I will answer that. Here is my Zerker, Mrs. Beefloaf. This is Mrs. Beefloaf. You like her?
I do like her, yeah.
Oh, thank you. I am glad.
Yeah, thanks for showing her.
You're welcome. But yeah, that's Mrs. Beefloaf.
By the way, Tim,
Anyways,
you can go
I
to
will
the
get
top
rid of
right.
my thing. So
You can go in the top
yeah.
right, and you can turn off non-video participants, and it'll still look the same.
Oh, okay.
Mrs. Beefloaf, everybody.
Mrs. Beefloaf. Yes, this is Mrs. Beefloaf. She has boobies also. Yeah. The thing is about it being done. So normally, how again, there are all sorts of different ways of doing it. This also explains the infamous more FPS equals more DPS thing. So think of it as you actually need to watch Mrs. Beefloaf for this. This is really important. So first, the question of why they can't have it as something is. So something always takes the exact same amount of time. They could do that, but the issue is that it gives them a lot less control over the animation. So how it normally works is you see Mrs. Beefloaf swing her axe at the ground. So the rate that's animated at is like, let's say 24 frames per second or 30 frames per second or whatever the value is. However, your frames in game are not always going to be locked at 24 or 30, hopefully, unless you have a gigantic potato, then it will probably be even lower than that. So what it does is it's like, so think of it as frame 0, frame 1 will be at 0, and the final frame of the ability will be at 1. Everything else will be in between that. So when it has to render something and it's not at one of the, it's somewhere in between like two of the keyframes or whatever, when they animate it, it'll be like, oh, let's interpolate, which is a lot of wonderful mathy stuff. GPUs are basically linear algebra machines, by the way, between one and the other to find the position that Mrs. Beefloaf's axe is supposed to be in. So that is kind of like, that is my lazy potato. I didn't sleep much explanation of how stuff like that tends to be done and why you have some of these weird things. And that explains a lot of why things get quite odd at extremely high or extremely low values of frames per second. I will get rid of my thing so he does not reject me. But yes, that it's like, while it's possible, I would have a hard time accepting that unless I saw some evidence supporting it. One thing I would want to see someone do is they should make their warrior really fat, like 170% overweight, and also get slowed. And then they should do the ability to see if it genuinely does dump all of its damage immediately. Even under those circumstances, I'd be kind of curious about that. Might be able to explain at least
you
that
think
part
the
of
size of the character has an impact as well?
Oh no, not the fatness in terms of that. The weight,
Oh, okay.
overweighted because
meant.
Gotcha.
Okay.
No. Speaking of that, do you want to see my warrior?
Of course.
Okay. Let me log on her and then show you her. Her name is Karen with sword. It took me so long to make a Karen warrior.
Sorry, I was
I
having
think
problems.
a wizard got tired of being griefed by a warrior, so he snuck into the warrior's place of residence and replaced all of his steroids with estrogen pills or something. And that is the story of the birth of Karen with Sword. Let me show you her.
Yeah, you didn't enjoy fighting warriors in Pilaku jail?
Not particularly. Here you go. This is Karen with Sword. Do you see her?
Relatable.
It was like, even compared to a stroker, it's really hard to do this with warrior. Like, look, oops. No, I clicked the wrong. Okay, good. Look how, look how my mystic
Wait, we'll go
looks.
back
Roxy
left real quick?
Balboa. Oh yeah,
What
this is
is
Beef
that?
Loaf.
No, what is that archer?
Oh,
Or
my ranger. Yeah, that's my ranger. Pen stack, don't use.
Mm. What do you use that one for?
I forget. I think she's in Velia.
Play her a lot?
No, not really. I made her voice sound like Shrek. Oh no, she's an Altanova Gateway. But yes, this is her.
Can I just say this podcast has been everything that I hoped it would be?
Here. Her mouth is a lot better. Right when it loads in, her mouth is all toothy, but now she has the part where her upper teeth are more forward than her lower teeth.
She looks pretty smart.
Oh, thank you. Yes, but this is her.
Oh my god, the unibrow.
It's a tattoo. And then
You gave her a tattoo to look like a unibrow?
I couldn't give it to her without that. See, look. It's a tattoo. Here, I'll show you.
What was your inspiration for this character?
Hello. I don't know.
If you're listening on Spotify, by the way, close Spotify and pull up Potion Shop's YouTube.
Where? Oh yeah, Potion Shop was my inspiration for this character. Thank you for reminding me. But yeah.
Potion Shop has nice eyebrows.
Oh yeah,
Shiny,
not for the eyebrows, but for
can
everything
people
else.
commission you to make portraits of themselves in BDO?
Oh, Ken. Yes. Oh, yeah, do you want to see my mystic Roxy Balboa?
Mm-hmm.
I had another
Of
name,
course.
Womany Pacquiao, but I messed up her face, so I had to delete her. This is my mystic.
Yeah, I saw
she's loading.
I saw a shy on there for a split second. It's definitely going
Oh,
to keep
yeah.
me from sleeping tonight.
Oh, do you want to see my shy too?
Mm.
Tim
see
definitely
my
wants to
shine
see the
if you would
shy.
like. This is my mystic Roxy Balboa. She has long arms for grabbing bananas from trees. See, look how long her punches are. That.
That's
Yeah,
a
this
mystic,
is
huh?
her. Yeah.
Wow.
You like her?
Yeah, I know. I used to know somebody who had a Rocky Balboa.
No, it's Roxy Balboa.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
Roxy.
Right, Roxy.
This reminds me of a meme my friend sent me. Let me find it.
The while you're finding that, let's zoom through some of the other stuff real quick. This week they have random field bosses. So when you go to a field boss, it'll say like Beg spawned, and instead of Beg, it'll be Red Nose. They thought this would be fun for some reason, so that's what they did this week.
I think
Just
that's
send
Yeah, it's April Fool's.
I guess it makes sense with April Fools. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. That's pretty good, actually.
They need
The
to
April
get rid
Fool's
of
thing.
April Fools.
Bro, I completely forgot it was even April Fools. Let's see. Extra belongings of adventure. If you go to not field bosses but actual world bosses, this means like Zarka, Kudum, Nuver, Offentet, one of those. They will have a chance of giving you, I think, a teapot, and you can turn in a teapot for an adventure of belongings. They also have the Dream Donkey event, which is in, I believe, isn't it in Velia or Olvia or something? Where is that at?
I don't know. I skimmed through it.
Global Lab this week, they have added Cooking Quest to Velia, Hydaelyn, and Caltheon. The one in each area has like different materials. If you need peppers or high quality peppers, high quality onions, milk, and I think there's something else. But they're all. We'll have to see if it's worth it. Basically, go turn in existing food, a few recipes, and then you get this 500 of whatever you want, which is pretty nice. We'll have to see if it has the actual benefit in life skilling when it comes out. After we can play it, they have a new mining ore that they added to Global Lab. It's something called, I think Starlight ore or something like that. And basically, like, apparently shooting comets like land on the ground, and then you can find them like twinkling when you're running around, and you can mine them and get this Starlight ore. We'll have to see.
Isn't this the PvP objective thing?
No, I don't think so. It looks like it's something that's in like Hydaelyn, which makes me think that's just you get an item you can turn in for new players, possibly. It's sort of like finding a treasure chest for new players. We'll have to
find
see.
something for new players.
It looks like the way they word it is it seems like it's something for veteran players to be interested in, but it looks like the way they designed it was for new players potentially. Did you see the Starlight ore that they did on Global Lab? Did you read? It looks like something is going to be. It looks like something that's interesting for veteran players, but it's designed for new players potentially. Do you know anything about it?
I did not see that. Is that from this week?
Yeah, it just came out yesterday.
No, I haven't read yesterday's.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what that is. Maybe they'll develop it some more. They said when you can go out mining, and they're going to add a new ore called Starlight ore, is the translation for it. We'll have to see if that turns into something that we can actually use. You can also do
Black Yarrow?
Hey, I don't know. We'll have to see. But it appears on the ground as like a shining ember. It's like on the ground, and it'll like flash when you're running by it. And you can go mine it real quick before it disappears, because apparently it disappears if you don't mine it right away. We'll have to see if that is. It sounds interesting, but it all comes down to how it feels when you play it. They added a
Yeah. I like the idea of adding more random shit out in the world that you can just encounter unexpectedly. The world is really big and needs more of that.
I feel like right now it's very predictable what you're going to find, and I feel like they could almost add these things without telling people they're adding them, and so you like that way you just run along it and you're like, hey, we added 3 surprises this week. Let us know if you find any of them, and like I don't know, that'd just be kind of fun to just be randomly exploring and blindly in the game world and find one, and you're like, oh wow, I didn't know that was a thing. Get 100 mil, or find something that's kind of rare and get like a 200% combat buff or something. Find like the golden apple while you're exploring.
I've always
the game
thought
world.
that they should have. Yeah, I've always thought that they should have random mobs or random bosses that spawn out in the worlds that have like 40 drops or something, so that when you find one, you want to like get your guild there and kill it as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be literally anywhere, so there's actually an incentive to like sailing out in the middle of nowhere, or like checking caves that people don't normally go to, or islands that people don't normally go to, or the middle of the desert, like just going places people don't normally go to see if you can find one of these, and then like get your buddies out there and it drops like billions of silver. Like something like that could be really, really cool if they actually
I think the whole guild announcement, like they could honestly just do that with field bosses. Make it where there's no channel announcement for field bosses. There's no set schedule for it, and you're just running around and you're like, well, there's a dim tree there. Maybe there's like 5 different spawns for dim tree, and you happen to run by one, you see one, you're like, hey, like let's get the guild here, let's make $1 billion silver.
That's kind of how it used to be. You used to have guilds like locking down the boss timers and organizing. That's back when you could PvP over them as well.
Big and Shiny, I need to read you a chat that just happened in my RBF. It says, kill the shy. She's in the walls. Kill her.
Ah.
I blame you.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's going to be a thing for the release next week.
We're responsible for this.
Yep, we're getting Donkey's nerf too.
No, I think that they should have what would be an interesting donkey?
I mean,
Should
the
have
one
it-
with wings is kind of interesting.
I think
Uh-huh.
having
It
a
should
like
have
an
more.
actual pack mule where you're able to carry a lot of weight on it would be really neat.
It should follow you around and eat all of the loot that your pets don't pick up and poop it out at the end of the day, and then you sift through it to get all of the items.
That's
I think that's a good
crass.
idea. I think that's a good idea.
You can use
You
that in
think they-
farming as a resource. Enriched
You think they
soil.
Add a mechanic where you have to sift through shit for loot.
You don't
I
have to.
mean-
You don't have to get the donkey, but you should.
Have you seen a Black Spirit save? It's kind of what he's describing.
Collects
Already
all the
are.
shit in one place.
Potion language, please.
they-
Thank you.
They added Agris Fever Quest. They added Agris Fever Quest to Global Labs, so apparently you can pick up one of these quests in exchange for your Agris Fever. And then we'll have to see how that turns out for the game. I think that's actually pretty cool. Let me see if I can find some of the rewards in here.
Better be good.
You can get a Burning Desert Treasure Chest. And the loot is all in Korean. So we'll have to wait until it comes out. It shows a screenshot, to be fair. It's not like a Google Translate thing. But yeah, hopefully it's pretty good. It seems like an interesting idea at the very least that you can do a quest for it, because a lot of people want to just burn through it as fast as possible, and other people want to do it as use it as efficiently as possible. So if it kind of does one of those two things where you can burn through your Agris Fever even faster, or you can spend it more efficiently this way, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Well, nobody wants to do it as efficient as possible, or else they'd only grind Turos 24/7. Having different options and still being viable is probably what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, I mean, a lot of people, they save it up and they just go straight to Thorn Forest, because Thorn Forest you can make like 300 mil an hour with it, even with high AP. So it's
I
like for 2 hours you can do 300 mil for 2 hours with Agris Fever. Yeah.
The question for our
Ah.
guest: do you remember when you banned me from your Twitch chat?
Oh, a long time ago? Yeah, you probably said something stupid or ridiculous.
It was back in the Pila Ku days. You hated warriors so much, and I came in and I saw I was trying to figure out if I wanted to reroll wizard. You were grinding Pila Ku. You had so much war AP to me. You're going so slow, and I'm like, why are you grinding so slow when you have such good AP? And you're like, you're probably a warrior or something else.
I
And I'm
wouldn't
like,
banned you for that.
you did. And then I said it was a warrior. Why are you bad at this, or is this like some different build, or what's happening? And you're like, you're just one of your words. I don't know. You got.
I'm
I'm
with Big and
pretty
Chatty
sure
on this
that
one.
the exchange had a lot more to it than that if you got banned, because it's remarkably hard to get banned. In fact,
Is it really? I was
yeah.
shocked. Like I was before I was streaming and stuff. I was just like, oh, I could use some information because I'm trying to hit 61 here. And then I get banned. I'm like, I've never been banned from a Twitch before. What did I do?
How far back
This
do
is
these new
so
mod
annoying.
logs go?
Oh yeah, good question.
Oh
Let me
yeah, we could see how toxic I was.
Is he still banned? Do we need to do a ban appeal?
No.
Oh, I should show you the funniest ban appeal I ever got, but it only goes to 11.2.2018.
Okay, yeah. So they
What
didn't
was I saying?
log it before that.
Oh, that. So like, even if I just typed in there right now, it wouldn't show.
Wait,
It
there's a
wouldn't.
place to go read ban appeals?
Yeah. No,
Yeah, I didn't know it until my friend showed me it.
Oh, got a lot of followers.
It
Damn.
was so funny.
Actually, I got to figure out how to find that as well. I've probably banned a total of like 30 people total in 5 years.
What?
That's probably about it.
I've banned 2 people this stream.
It's pretty hard to get banned in my stream as well.
I feel like I'm getting close though.
I get like maybe 20 a year, and usually they're reoccurring. I have this same dude. He's changed his Twitch name 3 times, but because he says the same thing every year after I unban him, I know exactly who it is, and he gets banned again. Because he comes in and the first thing he says is like, "Why are you only 65 and 55%? Why are you only 65 and 56%?" And I'm like, "Ah, bro,
You
And
brought him up so many times. That man gets under your skin a big time.
I don't.
There's like 40 more people that are going to start doing it now.
People ask me that like several times a day when I grinded for EXP. Are you sure it's the same person? That was like
Yeah,
a regularly occurring
the
thing.
thing is, like, it was like in odd ways. Like once I hit 65, I didn't want people to. It was before people knew how good train dummies were. And so I had my EXP hidden at the top of my screen because if people saw me go from 0% to like 10% in like a month, they'd been like, "What's going on here?" You know, because people didn't know. So I hid it for like the first couple of months, and so every day he'd come in and he'd be like, "I think you're at 12.3% today," and I'm like, "You're the only guy. Who cares?" So yeah. Anyway. He's changed his name 3 times. The reason I originally banned him is because he lied in because me and him used to be competing to see who would get the first 63 Sork in NA. And so he lied to me about what his percentage was, and he thought it was funny. And I thought we were just having a friendly game as to who could grind more with each other, right? But he was lying about it, so you know I can't enjoy a friendly wager like that. And so he had me going for like probably close to a month on it or something. I thought he was gonna beat me, but he wasn't anywhere close. So
It could have still been friendly. You did some friendly karma bombing to me.
Oh, we just had to bring that up.
yeah, it was pretty friendly.
So, speaking of percentages, Shiny, you were the first person to hit multiple XP milestones in BDO, right?
Huh?
You were the first person to hit multiple XP milestones, right? I think you were the first 61 and 62, or I don't remember exactly which one. What was your world first, or your NA first milestones that you hit?
All I know is with my server, I know that on my server, some before merge, I was the first 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, and 63. To the best of my knowledge, there was someone maybe on EU server who got 60 first. I only know that 62 and 63 were before those, but then I reject EXP grinding, and I still reject it.
Yeah,
however,
I think a lot of
may
people
unreject
rejected it
one day.
after some changes.
Reject it because there were a lot of reasons, but one of the worst was when I was grinding Gaifa. This was after Dark Crusade contracted worms, so I was grinding with other people.
What does that mean?
So he got worms. He was fighting a mystic in Histria, and the mystic touched him, and he didn't feel well, so he went to the doctor and was diagnosed with worms. But anyways, after that, one time I was grinding, and it surprised me because a lot of the people in my regular groups were Siege players, and I would never get along with Siege players except with like some rare exceptions, but these people were great. And then one day, simultaneously, all 4 of them disconnected, and I'm like, something's definitely a little weird. So I gathered a bit of information and found out it was kind of funny. One of the very telling quotes from one of the guildies of one of them was, "If you have ever grinded with him any more than a few months after the game came out, then you've only grinded with his pilot." So it turned out that the vast majority of people grinding EXP were people using pilots. And my favorite was I even had one Siege player's pilot try to advertise his services to me while he was on the account he was piloting. That was back
Do you have a
when I
screenshot?
was the high level. Oh yeah, definitely. Want it?
Yeah, I did.
Yep.
You
Okay,
bet I
sure.
do, man.
Let's see.
Bet your
Yeah, he
ass,
was
dude.
he's been in Vertex and Man Up and maybe Snake. I don't know if he's still plays today, but I like that the pilots are actually nice people compared to all of the CGs.
Yeah,
who they-
that's how we used to recognize them, because of how polite they were. They would call you
Exactly.
sir.
Yeah, anytime somebody comes up to me on a grind spot now, I have a macro that says, "Sorry, sir, big order to fill, please."
Law.
Just trying to fit in.
Let's see. I find it. I have to get rid of my friend's messaging guild though, because he's secretly like me and wouldn't want his message anywhere.
I was going to ask if there was like a specific milestone or accomplishment in the game that you're particularly proud of.
No, how about you?
Do you experience
nothing.
pride ever? Is that an emotion that you felt before?
But when you say pride, in what way do you use that? Because different people use it very differently.
I think
Just
this,
as like
some people,
as
they use it
the deadly sin,
synonymously
like
with-
the deadly sin of pride.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like they use it synonymously with words like hubris, and I think that's very different. Has being proud of one's accomplishments versus being prideful. Like, for example, if you're working on a really nasty integral for 25 minutes, when you finally solve it, the wonderful feeling that that kind of
one.
goes along with that.
Yeah, that's the one that I
with
was
that. Oh
asking
yeah,
about.
no, yeah, definitely.
Do
Okay,
you have
so
any
what's
of
your
those in
most-
BDO?
Kubrick moment. I don't know how to conjugate that, but I tried.
I found the screenshot.
Yeah, just send that whole folder to us and we'll take care of the rest.
Oh, actually, I have a big Google Drive that I gave to Cacao people, but that was mostly from one guild. I have different ones being used from other guilds. Okay, it's in here.
I would delete my Twitch account for that file.
so
Oh yeah, yeah. Everyone's seen this person's pilot many times.
Yeah.
the thing I'm curious about is like, do you for me, like, I changed my goals from leveling to leveling to 62 because I found multiple characters being leveled to 62 is more impressive, at least for me personally. Like, why have you changed your goals to, since leveling is no longer your goal? What's like one of your current goals that you're striving for your own personal enjoyment?
Me?
Yeah, MBDO.
Oh, I just like to grind for the enjoyment of grinding. And I like to have a better understanding of the mechanics that govern and that underpin how things work. Those are the things that are the most enjoying. And I also like to remove unpleasant people with my Fat Wizard set. That's one of the most enjoyable things, easily up there with grinding.
How many people
About
are on
you?
your unpleasant list?
I don't. I guess I have one list, but that's not necessarily an unpleasant list. It's only when I encounter people who are unpleasant to me. Or if they've been unpleasant to someone I know, I like to remove them. Or if they are on any of the things of people I catch cheating, I will remove them no matter what. Even if I'm not going to grind the spot, I remove them if it's a player who's cheated in a significant way.
Do you have a master list of cheaters?
Kind of, yeah, kind of. No, the one I reported to Cacao a long time ago, it was interesting because some of them were like the hard finds that 100% cheated. Other of the lists were people who, from going through all of the Discord logs, I was able to get who very, 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 very likely did, but couldn't be hard confirms. And then I had a bunch of other lists that were compiled by, these ones were by far the least accurate because they were compiled by rival guilds, usually, because cheating guilds like to shame their rivals who also cheat for their cheating. I guess that's how it is.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting. It's kind of like you have like the snake thing with the mapping. Imagine someone who is really so imagine someone who goes to a restaurant and then they take their pants off and they poop on the table. And then they sit back down and then they yell at you for having improper table manners by putting your elbows on the table. It's kind of like that. That's how I imagine it.
That's exactly what happened, dude. That's exactly what happened.
Yes, that is how it makes sense in my
such
brain.
a good example.
Make a lot of
pretty
poop
accurate.
analogies. You realize that?
Well, it's analogies are great. because it puts something into more familiar and more accessible terms. And I'm pretty sure that most people, at least most people I've run into, are familiar with that.
Yeah, defecation. Yeah.
Yes. I think I started doing it because I used to always make ones related to food or related to math, and people didn't like those. So I had to make it something that was more universally understood. I don't know why people didn't like food. Everyone's familiar with food too.
God, you must live a painful existence.
Live a wonderful existence.
Do you? It's not, you enjoy, like, you know, your brain obviously works at a different vibration than most people's do. So do you find joy in like finding different ways of explaining things that are so obvious to you? Do you have like that natural teacher, you know, gene or whatever it is?
Obvious? What do you... I'm confused.
Like things
Sorry,
that you
I dreamed for a second.
things that you understand very well, right? That, like things that you read about
Wine
all the time
bottles?
for fun. Yeah, all that. And so do you find joy in dumbing it down and explaining to other people, or is it like is it coarse to you? You know?
There's almost nothing more. It's like a lot of the concepts, like a lot of the things in math or in physics, like very abstract, seemingly esoteric concepts, can be understood. Like a lot of things in QM, for example, have a lot of very easily understood classical analogs that make them really easy to, at least to an extent, make sense of. So yeah, things like that are very, 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 very enjoyable because it also helps you understand it better when you think of how better to explain it in different terms and from different angles. It's so interesting, isn't it?
The best way to learn is to be a teacher of it. I like it.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that. I've never met somebody like you, Big and Shiny.
What are your thoughts on psychedelics?
Never met someone like you either. Oh, very interesting. In general, or like the, what's the word? Like the pharmacology of psychedelic substances, or what?
Recreational or medical?
Yeah.
Oh, but so. I thought you meant something else. Like So are you asking about like the science of them, or are you asking about like the ethics of their use?
Either one, whatever aspect of it you find interesting.
Oh well, of course I find the science very interesting, but I need like a more specific.
Do you think that there's a symbiosis between hallucinogenics and the human mind that unlocks certain parts of the mind to better understand oneself?
I think there definitely can be. I think that it's one of those things where the stigma of using certain substances like that recreational, you could also get into some very interesting, I guess you can say, politics about that they'd love to get into, but most people, for some reason, it's like I don't think there's this crazy gateway or anything that you unlock. No, there's nothing like that. However, yes, it's something that can definitely aid in understanding certain things about oneself when used in certain ways. Yeah, that definitely does happen. But again, that has to do that still has to do with the brain because of what is happening inside the brain. And there are a lot of things that can be done through other means also that are similar to that. I don't know if that makes sense, but let me think how better to explain it.
Do you ever get high off of like doing Kundalini yoga?
What's that?
I don't know, some kind of yoga that people do to have psychedelic experiences without drugs.
Oh yeah, that's I had no idea what that was. But yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking of. It's something that may be catalyzed by a psychedelic substance, but it's not something that it's necessarily that's necessarily required for it. But yeah. It's a very interesting topic. I usually, I'm only used to talking about the science of these things that I find very interesting, despite biology and chemistry being much weaker for me than harder sciences. But nonetheless, I find them very interesting.
I always like asking people about their experiences, but since a lot of this stuff is illegal, I know people aren't necessarily comfortable talking about it.
Oh, well, I highly doubt anyone is going to ever get in trouble for talking
Yeah, that's what I
about
think.
it. When, yeah,
Yeah, or Bill
Besides,
Maher had
it's-
been arrested in the 90s.
it's also one of those things where when rules of any kind are enforced, it's important to keep in mind why those rules exist to begin with. Just like for things in BDO, if someone breaks a rule, it's not as simple as, oh, the black and white of they broke a rule. You have to examine why that rule is in place to begin with. And I would like to think, even though they really don't always do a very good job of it, that when it comes to getting legally angry at people for using certain substances that are deemed unlawful to use, that they would keep in mind why those things exist to begin with, why those laws exist to begin with. I don't know if that makes much sense, but
Yeah, well, a lot of these things, I don't think there was much logic behind them being outlawed. Too.
there really
Hackers
isn't.
freaked out.
It's like, and there are definitely some, like, if you know what the drug crocodile is, that should absolutely not be illegal. No, but yeah, a lot of the things, there's, as far as I'm concerned, really no good reason. It's like, if there's something that would immediately make you a danger to others if you ingested it, then yeah, that should probably be illegal. But that's rarely the case if people are smart with what they're doing. But I guess that is the issue, that people aren't smart.
Yeah, and if there was
what
better
they're
education and if it was less stigmatized, then people would know which things they
Well,
could experiment with and which things they should stay away from.
I think having better education would have to imply that it's less stigmatized. Because
Right.
unfortunately, when something is stigmatized the way that a lot of these things you're talking about are, it kind of prevents people from ever becoming properly educated on them, which is kind of ridiculous, because then you also get into the issue of saying, oh, something is bad just because it's bad. Rather than, this is bad because there's a plethora of objective evidence that has been collected and we can safely conclude that this thing is bad. No. It's bad just because socially we say it's bad.
Right. It becomes dogmatic.
If I can ask just like one barely personal question.
Ask anything you want. If you're talking to me, I'm not going to answer it though, but go on.
Is there a specific social cue or social interaction that pops out to you as like the most annoying part of interacting
Well,
with
that's
other
not
people or
personal.
society or anything?
Oh, wow. Yes. I'm going to get a cola. This is making me thirsty. Then I will answer, because I would love to answer this. Right back. I'm thirsty.
Yeah,
Leave me
please
alone.
take your time. Absolutely.
It's a good question.
A broken clock is right twice a day.
One thing.
How about you, Potion Shop?
Socially?
Yeah. What bothers you socially? Like IRL stuff, not like, when people like act like this in game, but when you're out in society or on the phone or dealing with even family members or whatever.
I think the biggest things that bother me are either people taking other people's opinions and applying them to themselves, or potentially like groupthink, or people being closed-minded and not thinking about things from a round perspective. One thing I have to say real quick is that we do need to be wrapping up the podcast.
Fair enough. I didn't realize the time.
Yep.
We will after he comes back and we finishes.
I was just going to do this all day, man.
Yeah. Jesus. Well, we could officially end it and then keep talking, and Potion can leave if he wants. I know it's late for you.
That's true. That's true.
How about you, Moreland? What's the social cue that bothers you?
People saying things that they're wrong about with confidence, and other people believing them just because of the degree of confidence with which the thing
Holy
is
shit,
stated.
you must hate me.
That's why I mauled so hard when you say things without any evidence to back it up.
I say things confidently, but it's not. It's perceived confidence. It's not like actual confidence. I don't really have. I don't think I've ever learned a way of talking that this is not confident. I guess is a. I don't know.
Well, it's a lot of it is just extreme. Like you'll say this is the way it works, rather than well maybe it works this way, or here's a piece of evidence that indicates that it works this way. You'll just be like, here's how it works. It's this. Like it's very what's the word? It's very closed, I guess.
Cut and dry. Yeah. I
That's really your biggest pet peeve?
Yeah. I think so. I don't know is that not the category of thing that we were aiming
No,
at?
it is. It's just it's so relatable to the three of us doing a podcast together. That's 4 times a day, once a week.
Well, it's because that's how information spreads, and like there's so much misinformation, and like anything that I try to learn about, I waste so much time and energy wading through people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about to try to get to the actual truth. And it's so exhausting, dude. If people would just back off and only say things with the appropriate degree of certainty that they actually have about the thing, I feel like every part of society would be a million times better off.
Well, I basically talk to the best of my knowledge at all times, and so if you ask me any question, I'll give you the best answer I can with 100% confidence that is the best answer that I can give you. And if you're asking or listening to my opinion on something, then, and I don't have knowledge on that, then it was that person's mistake in trusting my opinion in the first place.
That's an unknown, man. They can't know that they don't know that. You can't blame somebody for that.
Well, then
if I'm like 70% sure about something, then I'll say, well, I'm pretty sure that it works like this, and here's why. If I'm like 99% sure about something, then I might state it as an absolute. But if I'm like 70% sure about something and I'm stating it as an absolute, that feels disgusting to me. Like I would hate myself if I did that.
I guess what I do is I just assume everybody's an idiot. And so then everything that they say, I always just judge it. Whether they say it's an absolute or not, I just assign a personal value of how much I trust the information. No matter who says it, like whether it be Big and Shiny, you or Tim, or like any random person on the internet, like. And then the more I watch them, the higher I rate their opinion. Like if I watch like somebody a lot and I grow and trust them more, then I'll give that a higher certainty, even if they're talking in absolutes. I guess I just never really realized that people talk differently when they aren't certain about something. Like I just assumed everybody's an idiot. So
well, I think if you're humble, you do, right? A lot of people don't, but I think if you're humble, then when you are able to recognize when you're not 100% certain about something and give yourself like the doubt of, hey, I could be wrong about this. Like I think that's an exercise in humility that most people are not mature enough to do a lot of the time.
So I don't know if it's humility, but like when I started my job, I'm a sales rep, and for a building material, I never made the thing that I was selling. So I didn't have the personal, intimate knowledge of what I was selling. And so I'd go in there and just be like, hey, so this is roughly how this goes. And they'd be like, well, what about this? And I'd be like, that's an excellent question. Let me figure that out. So like my entire professional career came from kind of bullshitting, but like honestly doing it. And so I never really said anything with like extreme confidence. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is how this goes. And they'd be like, okay, can we find out for sure? And I'd be like, yeah. And so that was like my whole professional experience. So like if I know something for sure, like there's so many varying degrees. And I really like Thomas Jefferson, where it's like you have to, choosing your words very carefully is a really important thing and thinking before you speak and stuff like that. So that's interesting to have such a violently different perspective. I'm sorry, Big and Shiny. We were talking about, we were all answering the question while we're waiting for you. Our biggest social cues, pet peeve, Moreland's is speaking with confidence when you're not sure if you know what you're speaking about. And Potion Shop, what was yours again?
Mine is, I kind of had like a kind of an overarching idea of this being closed-minded or groupthink or like
Got it. Hive-mindedness.
yeah, hive-mindedness type thing. I like people to think critically about everything, regardless of who they're hearing it from. And I feel like that leads to a lot of problems that we have in today's society.
Mine's small talk.
I used to feel that way when I was like probably throughout my 20s. I used to hate small talk. I've come around to it now though. I'm starting to see the utility in it.
I see the utility. I'm good at it. If you knew me in real life, I bet you'd be pretty shocked that I dislike it. But it is nails on the chalkboard. I hate every fucking second of it. It is the 7th level of hell.
I just don't like talking to
I
people
see
in
it as a
general.
way of like interfacing with people that I normally wouldn't be able to connect with or have anything in common with.
Yeah, I understand all that. I fucking hate it.
What would be like an example of that, so I can maybe understand the conversation more?
Talking to anybody at a party.
Oh, you have no relationship with them, so then the value of chit-chatting doesn't matter.
Talking to your son's friend's dad for the first time and having to like suffer through a conversation about football or the weather or
The weather.
The weather.
I used to completely shut down anytime someone brought up the weather, like it was like practically a fucking trigger for me. I would be at a party and someone would bring up the weather, and I would just be like, I gotta go. I feel ill.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see it like that anymore. I think that like you have to, there's so many different reasons to interact with someone. One of them is like, to get to know the person or to exchange information or whatever. But there's also just this kind of like intuitive, I don't really know like how to articulate it properly, but like if I'm at a party and I'm kind of drunk, like the substance of what we're discussing doesn't always have to matter. Like you should be able to just talk to someone about absolutely pointless bullshit just because the two of you are in the same place and you both have goodwill towards each other and you're trying to have a good time. And I think that's something small talk can do across divides that like, certain topics can't.
I think you could still be able to cut through some of that if you're standing. I'd like to walk into a group of people and just kind of listen for a little while and then interject when there's something that I'm interested in. Otherwise, I just kind of go, these people are idiots, or they really like NFL and that's not my thing, and I just kind of walk away. So I try not to engage in small talk.
I guess. Yeah,
because I've got kind of I'm an overbearing personality, so I'm kind of bad at it in a group setting. So I normally just kind of stand off to the side, wait for something that I can relate to, and then talk. But like in a one-on-one like professional situation, I can small talk with the best of them, but I want to pull my teeth out.
It makes sense to me because for me, chit chat or small talk, whatever, allows people to put the facade on that they're a perfect person, and then they get to ignore their flaws, and that's what kind of bugs me about it. Is it leads to like a facade of like we're all perfect people hanging out in a perfect society type deal.
You're very black and white, man. You're very black and white. It's unbelievable.
It can allow that. It definitely can allow people to mask.
Yeah, I don't think it has to, but I think in a lot of cases people be like, "Oh well, Johnny's doing great in school today," and in reality, she's at home like drinking like a whole like bottle of vodka, and it's like I feel like it just really allows you to do that really easily, and I feel like I feel like chit chat for the random people you've never met before is great because it's a way to burn the time while you don't have anybody to talk to, right? But if it's going to be in like any type of relationship people or people you're going to meet on a daily basis, I think it becomes unhealthy.
All right, what about you, Big and Shiny?
It was very interesting to listen to what you guys said, but I was also thinking, I think it's the one that Moreland said. There's a study done some years ago that people will generally believe who is the most confident in what they're saying as opposed to who is the most qualified or the most informed.
Of course.
That's why Fox News exists.
Yeah, that's why it bothers.
But yeah, anyways, not all that different from the ones you guys said, but my least favorite thing is probably people's inclination to believe someone who says I feel over someone who says I have concluded. Is that because it's
That's one of your
definitely a bit of a
largest pet
headache.
peeves in dealing with other people on a day-to-day basis.
Well,
Mhm.
I think a lot of times people lead to an emotional conclusion, and when it deserves a logical conclusion. I can
think
definitely
that,
see that how that's difficult.
Well, to talk about how it relates to BDO, one thing that you commonly will see is someone more or less saying, oh, like with the DR evasion thing, someone said, oh, DR is better because I switched to DR and they felt so much tankier, when it's something that you can actually quantify.
Oh,
in a way.
yeah.
But the thing is
Have this
that people,
conversation with
yeah.
Potion and drop rate all the time.
Listen,
Oh,
I tested it like one time.
Want to talk about low probability of success Bernoulli trials, and why it's even if you have a difference of, let's say, 30% drop rate, if you're grinding for an accessory that has a 1 in 1,000 or so, or even less likely chance of dropping, even if you kill, let's say, 500,000 things. Yeah, the point is that it necessitates, it kind of forces a very, 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 very large sample, sometimes prohibitively large sample, if you want to get conclusive results, like with how these experiments would normally be designed. Let's say if you want to say, oh, does the Kama blessing buff actually work for yellow accessories? Even if you kill 500,000 things and get 10 more yellow accessories with a Kama blessing versus without, that is not even close to a proper statistical
That's
test.
why I started
yeah.
giving up on it, because I realized that if horoscopes actually affect anything, we can never conclude anything.
We can.
Wasn't that our first meme?
could.
Averages.
You
we
could
couldn't get
conclude
Joe.
it.
It would just
You're
be
not supposed to do-
it'd just be so difficult to conclude anything with it.
Yeah,
If-
you can draw the conclusion. What you're not supposed to do is pretend like you know the answer without actually doing the work to draw the conclusion.
Drop rates definitely decrease when you level up. That is
Oh,
for
fuck.
sure.
Want
That
me
is-
to show you how to design an experiment for that properly?
It would take way too much time.
Except for you, dude. That's why we need Big and Shiny so much, because no one else is actually going to be rigorous enough to answer like 90% of these questions.
Okay, so let me do one more speed round here. We have to end like the proper podcast, but we can bullshit a little bit afterwards too. So my last question, and this is gonna be just Big and Shiny answers, and then we close it out. Big and Shiny, what are other games you're currently playing, or some of your favorite other games?
I reject. I just like BDO. Leave me alone.
No shit, really?
That's kind of what I thought. Yeah.
There's no other like
I
relatable
stick to
games that
one thing.
What did you play before BDO? Let's do that.
I played Vindy before BDO. How about you?
Oh fuck!
Yep,
Are you
yep.
serious? Original Aftershock was called Crack House, and they were a Vendy guild. And I'm so goddamn tired of hearing about that. It was all they would ever talk about. That is the shittiest game in the world. I'm sorry.
I have no idea what it is. Can we have some context? What is it?
Vindictus. Vindictus.
Oh,
I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
Vindictus is such a good game.
It looks cool.
My God.
Oh, yeah. It's too bad the
Uh-huh.
developers are idiots.
Like every other game.
It really is like pre-alpha BDO though.
Yeah, it literally was so far ahead of its time because the combat in it. The combat's literally BDO combat before BDO existed.
So you really are a hardcore. Okay, all right. Well, I was curious. We like to ask our guests what other games they play and stuff like that. But you're a purist, man. I respect that. I really respect that.
Very scary.
All right, so let me draw us out here. We can continue to talk afterwards if we want, but it's well past Potion Shop's bedtime. This was episode 39 of Nerds and Words, and I'm not sure we got through all the patch notes or whatever, but I don't think anybody who listened this far really cares. Before we close out, we're going to roll out the red carpet for each one of us, starting with Big and Shiny. If you want to talk about anything you're working on, YouTube, Twitch content, etc., in the near future that you'd like to plug, please go ahead and do so.
Oh, what does that mean?
If there's something content as a content creator wise that you would like to plug to our viewers and listeners and subscribers, to advertise. Sorry.
You should watch Dark Crusade's Twitch if he streams again. He did a couple times like a month or so ago. Didn't know if he still does now. I'm going to ask him. But yeah, he came back for a little while.
Shady, how often are you streaming these days?
I streamed a couple weeks ago, but I haven't felt like it because I did something else. But I'm probably going to stream tonight or tomorrow. How about you?
I'm still streaming most days. If you so Shiny might be streaming again soon. If so, you could find it at twitch.tv/bigandshiny. Is there anything, do you plan on making any videos or anything? Is there any other content that you care about sharing with people? Any other exciting tests that you have coming up or anything like that?
Tests. So what was I going to say? Oh, I forgot.
Test.
I was thinking about it, but then I forgot because I dreamed. Okay, I'll probably remember eventually.
Was it the Nowhere thing?
No, I'm not excited about that one.
If there's a way that people can like, I don't use Reddit a lot, but if there's a way you can set an alert every time Big and Shiny posts on Reddit, you'll probably be pretty happy with the results.
Let's talk about wine bottles.
Right.
Moreland, what do you got going on your channel?
More Darkest Dungeon. I'll probably try to get into Mortal 2, which we didn't really have time to talk about today, but maybe next week since they extended their test. And then other than that, yeah, just BDO, just same old gambling and T1s. That's my thing right now.
Potion, you gonna stream this week? Promise.
I streamed 2 times last week, so my goal was to stream an hour extra every single time I streamed, and it was going to do 4, 5, 6, 7, just increase it until I can't go anymore, up to like maybe 16 or something. So I guess instead of doing that, we'll just increase it from 2 days to 3 days next week. We'll see if we can do 3 days of streaming next week. I just want to get into a good habit. It's really just the habit of, and the schedule. Yeah, that's what it really comes down to. It's not like a motivation thing or anything like that. It's really just the habit of starting at the correct time on the correct day and not getting sidetracked with anything else. So my hope we'll see. Hopefully 3 days or more is why I hope to stream this week. I want to get back into it before Sage Awakening comes out. We can talk about that next week.
I hope you really do like set some hard limiters on like your time and stuff like that, and make some time for your family, man. I bet they support the hell out of you. Make sure you have dinner with them every once in a while, dude.
Yeah, we have a family event coming up pretty soon. I think it's
Easter.
Yeah, I forget. It's something about me getting older. I don't know. So.
It's Potion Shop's birthday.
Yep.
Wow. Are you gonna be 30 yet?
It happens once a year. No one knows how old I am. No one knows the exact day. I just randomly mention it once a year. Sometimes it's correct, sometimes it's not. Are
you 30 yet or no?
I might tell you off stream. I'm not gonna.
Okay, that's fair. That's fine. That's fine. All right, I'll leave you alone. Well, congratulations, happy birthday, dude. Whenever it is.
Thanks.
For me, I'm having a lot of fun. We're going to do the T1 podcast tonight, I think, as long as my guild lets me again, but it's a lot of content. So we've got T1 Siege tonight, already yesed up for that motherfucker. And we're definitely going to have a good time tonight, clapping some cheeks, getting better at Guardian PvP, finally, not worried about gear because I'm in T1. I'm going to re-gym 4 T1s and keep pushing this as far as I can go. Probably do some 1v1s after this podcast here again. And so follow the stream. Make sure you check out this podcast. It's ridiculous. And tonight's probably going to be even worse. So some pretty good, spicy, weird content. But on behalf of Big and Shiny, Moreland TV, and Potion Shop TV, I'm Tim Allen 1337. Thank you for joining us on this wild roller coaster that was episode 39 of Nerds and Words. I appreciate you guys joining us. We are live on Moreland TV and Tim Allen 1337 on Twitch on 12 Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern on Fridays, and then catch us on Spotify and Potion Shop's YouTube whenever Potion Shop gets around to it, which is normally a couple days after going live. Thank you guys. Hope you all have a good week, and we'll catch you next time.